Play fake from Bean, who's got all kinds of time over the middle, and a nice catch going up to get the ball, and then fighting for the goal line. Lawrence Arnold, touchdown.
Welcome to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Judkins up the middle. No one home for Auburn. House call. Touchdown.
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
DiMercado gave it to Duggan. They have a receiver open. Another floating throw. It got to Wiley, and he got to the end zone.
Sikkim 365 Radio is also brought to you by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, protecting Texans since 1952.
It's McIntosh going to the top of your screen. That's where Bennett will throw it. McIntosh makes a move. Touchdown, Georgia.
Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Search 365 Sports on YouTube. Brought to you by TFNB, your bank for life.
Ninth play of the drive, little play action into the end zone. Clark, touchdown worthy. Now that's a worthy play.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
And here we go on this. It is a glorious Thursday in Central Texas. 365 Sports, 101 Elm off of MLK and just off the Brazos River and just about a mile away from McLean Stadium Saturday morning, 11 o'clock, Baylor in Kansas. We'll get into that and much more with the Big 12 and also college football. One game last night, Appalachian State winning big, running for nearly 400 yards at a win. They're now 4-3 after they'd lost a couple of games, including to Texas State last week. A lot to get to. Here's from Paul Catalina, Craig Smoak, and I'm David Smoak. Here's a story that, of course, the unknown. Curtis Quillen, who works for the NBC affiliate locally in Waco. Tonight's Baylor Coaches Show, Dave Aranda told Voice of the Bears, John Morris, that quarterback Blake Shapen is back and at practice for the Bears game this week. Craig Squirrel Williams likely out against Kansas. Of course, Craig has struggled to stay healthy most of his career, despite a couple of nice plays against KU. So there's that answer, and that appears as if Blake Shapen will be available at 11 o'clock against the Jayhawks at McLean Stadium.
Well, it changes my pick completely. I had just written into our thing. But again, yeah, I didn't, no offense, I don't watch that show. I should probably now because I look like an ass for sending that in. And thanks for doing this right off the top of the show, Paul. But anyway, that's good news for Blake.
Craig.
For those that don't know what Paul's talking about, nobody was listening to us before we got on the air. He sent in his pick for the game, not knowing whether Blake Shapen was going to play. So that's what you're referring to, which is okay and not a big deal at all. But Blake Shapen's playing as of last night, as we're pointing out here. So, yeah, that's good news for Baylor. Clearly, to have your starting quarterback back is what you'd like to hear. In this day and age of concussions and head injuries, you don't really know how to timeline this whole deal. But I guess, given the extra couple of days with the Thursday game against West Virginia, I'm sure that helped somewhat to have him back. And, you just got to roll with whatever the decisions are and hope that it's, the best one. And I'm sure they're not, just throwing him back out there for the sake of doing it, because I think Kyron Drones showed that he could probably go out there and play pretty well for them if he needed to. So either way, I felt, this weekend is a big one for them. And being at home, homecoming, Kansas kind of on the ropes a little bit right now. I'm expecting a win regardless of who the quarterback was. I expected a bit more now with Blake Shapen back, but I will be eyeing him probably pretty close based on the fact that we just did see him get his bell rung last week against West Virginia. As far as Squirrel goes, that's just kind of the deal with him and throughout his career of, when, if, can he be available for you, and the whole thing of, well, if he's available for you and if he can go, a lot of ifs with him, but, when he can do something, you feel good about it, and you feel good about his skill set, and you feel good about the game-breaking ability that he has. It's just we see it so few and far between because of his, just up and down health status, that it's a real shame for him and for the team to not be able to just count on that every single week. But I know it's hard for him, and they're really going to have to look at the running backs room after this season's over with. I mean, this is, at a point now where they just don't really have any stability there. Richard Reese is being relied on massively as a true freshman. And so I think that's something they're going to have to visit this offseason, because you just can't go into a season and say, well, if this guy stays healthy, we'll be pretty, that's iffing way too much. But hope Squirrel gets back in, the short term and gets to flash some of that talent of his.
They've got to look at the way that they recruit skill players in general. I mean, they really do, because there's not a guy on this team outside of Monterey Baldwin that scares the crap out of anybody. I'm laying that down. There's not a guy on the team that they're like, there's not a Quentin Johnson. You're like, oh crap, what are we going to do about that guy? Not a guy.
I understand Gavin Holmes may not scare people, but obviously
he's
he has
a good player,
up,
but
but he's in, the poor guy's been through hell.
But last year they had a guy. They had Abram Smith that scares you. They had Tyquan Thornton that scares you. They don't have anybody.
Ebner.
Yeah, Treston Ebner scares you. They don't have anybody in the offense right now that scares you. That you're like, holy cow.
Does Shapen scare you a little bit?
No, not yet. I mean, he's good, but I mean, like, is he C.J. Stroud? No. I mean, like, that's what they have to do to get to me to the next level. Is
are you just mad because Shapen's healthy? And
no, I'm not mad that he's healthy. I just think that, like, kidding, I think we've tiptoed around the narrative about some of the talent on this team.
I don't think we've tiptoed at all.
Yeah, I think that flat out, I'm saying it, they've got to get better at the skill positions. Flat out.
Yeah.
Almost every single one of them.
This has been a year so far at 3-3 where they have been disappointing. They have not met expectations. Last year they reached them and went well past anyone's really true, realistic expectations. All right, so that's that. Blake Shapen practicing and back with Baylor. Squirrel Williams out yet for another week. But you're right. You guys are the skill people. I thought Hal Presley might be much more involved. He made a nice catch in a game, 2 or 3 weeks ago at Iowa State. But is it consistent? Is there, who are you going to throw the ball to on 3rd and 9 to keep the chains going or to come back to try to win the game? Holmes or Monterey Baldwin? And really, Ben Sims, who was out for a little bit, was someone that we thought might catch 6 to 8 balls along with Dabney per game. Here's another story from the Big 12. Brendan Evers, defensive lineman who's been hurt, announcing today he's going to skip the rest of the regular season and begin preparations for the NFL draft. I spoke with Adam Rittenberg, who also had this story from ESPN. We'll discuss this today with him at around 5 o'clock. And this is injury-related, but also shutting it down. It depends on if you read between the lines, but he started 26 games for Oklahoma State, and he now is out for the rest of the year. They play Texas on Saturday.
They haven't had him for a lot of the time. He's dealt with a lot of injuries, so I'm not sure if this is a season game changer for Oklahoma State or not, but not knowing knowing now that they won't get him back at all because he's not coming back even if he's healthy, that's got to be a bit of a damper on things when you talk about your defensive line depth.
Yeah, what's the read between the lines part that you're referring to?
When a guy leaves early, if you're not careful, you don't read between the lines, then you might go, okay, here's another level of what we see in college football today, the bowl games being skipped. This guy's hurt.
Yeah.
He's going to shut it down. He probably will never be healthy again the rest of the year, so he's going to shut it down. Oklahoma State will know it. He knows it. Everyone knows it, and now hopefully gets healthy enough to perform when he does his offseason work for the NFL draft.
Yeah, I'll tell you, just looking at the conference and kind of what we're heading into this weekend, I mean, there's going to be some separation. There's going to be some big-time separation this weekend. And, if you're Oklahoma State, you got to be really careful with this Texas game because you suddenly go from, right there at the top, complaining about not getting enough respect to dropping 2 in a row. Suddenly, looking up and being kind of in that second tier of the Big 12 pretty quickly. Maybe not quite the second tier, because there is a bit of traffic there at the top still. But I do think when you look at the schedule, there's going to be kind of a little separation that occurs to where we're kind of in a 3-tier sort of setup most likely. And, yeah, if Oklahoma State drops their second one, then they're suddenly playing with a lot of fire in terms of trying to get back to the Big 12 championship game. So really key contest for them, and then so much uncertainty as far as how healthy Spencer Sanders is. And obviously Texas is capable of playing really good football, and last week wasn't their best showing, but prior to that, you were starting to get that sense of like, uh-oh, here they come. And, even last week, having their hands full with Iowa State, most teams have. Iowa State's record doesn't look sexy, but their style has given a lot of people fits, and nearly was good enough to get a win, in Austin last week. So I think Texas will probably have a better showing because this has got a little bit of build to it, but yeah, whoever wins this game is going to be sitting kind of pretty, and whoever doesn't is going to be, kind of no errors allowed the rest of the way, practically. All right,
they're right. There will be separation, no matter how deep it looks. It's not like everyone's not going to end up like 5-4 or 4-5. There'll be some of those, but there will be some separation, and we might see that, as Craig, you mentioned, this weekend. Bob Thompson is on a boat south of Spain. One of our media consultants, he put this up earlier today, though, on the report about the Big 12 and Brett Yormark and what he said yesterday, which we had a lengthy discussion about it. And Patrick Crakes will join us, a former Fox executive, will join us today a little bit after 4 to give us his take. He said, not sure that anything is imminent for Big 12, too early in process, but Pac-12 needs to get a deal done now to provide stability to the conference, and they need to get it done before the Big 12. Otherwise, there may be some wandering eyes from a couple of the corner schools. That's just his opinion. I reached out to Bob. He texted me back. He's, again, enjoying life right now. And we'll most likely get him on at some point, if we can, at the end of next week.
Got Wi-Fi on those boats, huh?
I guess so.
Yeah, this is kind of what I was wondering about yesterday was, I'm slow to catching on to kind of the bigger message with, the Big 12 possibly getting a deal done. But my whole thing was just like, man, it's weirdly quick. I mean, to just be like, you're not even, you're over a year away from even when you're scheduled to be on the market, and to just turn around and be like, oh, we already got a deal done, or we're going to have it like here in the next couple of weeks. I found that very odd. And, the fact that it's just kind of sticking with who they're sticking with, it makes sense given who those networks are. And I'm cool with that. And I've seen a lot of the speculation about what the money's going to look like and everything. I don't know. It kind of seems like at best it'll be a modest bump, but a bump nonetheless. So that's good. But again, we need to see the final figures there. But I think it's great. Like I'm obviously pro Big 12. So if they've got a deal done, that's fantastic. It just struck me as odd that they would have it this quickly, given that, again, they were nowhere near close to being even in discussions. So I'm very interested to see what this announcement is, and whether it is in the next week or so, and breaking down those numbers and the length of that contract is what will be really interesting in addition to the per school average. But yeah, I'd say as far as agreeing with that, I don't have any idea on when the Big 12 is going to do what they're going to do or what that looks like, obviously. But I do think the Pac's got to look up and go, okay, where are we in this whole thing? Because you've had a pretty significant head start. Like, you've been in this process now for months. Big 12 is still like a year away from when they're even supposed to start. So I don't know what all that means, but obviously Brett Yormark's not playing around, and he's being aggressive, and he's got things in mind as far as what he wants to do, set up, and accomplish. And I think that's great that they have a leader that's as proactive as he is. And, whether some of it's like kind of churning the media waters to create a little something, good, because they haven't had somebody do that ever, basically, for them. And I think him being, as aggressive as he is and applying a little pressure here and there should only, in my opinion, really bode well for the conference. I like that they're showing some some attitude, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think breaking it down just means more. What does it mean for the Pac-12 if the Big 12 does, in fact, get their deal done in the next few weeks ahead of the Pac-12 while the Pac-12 is in the open market? Well, it means that ESPN and Fox were happy enough with the Big 12 and are confident enough with the direction of where that league is going to go, given the 12-team playoff expansion and the markets it's going to be in and all of that, that they're ready to do a deal and lock it up, and they're going to feel good about that for whatever it is. But for the Pac-12, it's just another thing that shows everybody, nobody really knows what the future of that conference is. Now, there's a way forward for them as a conference, but they have to figure that out.
Yeah,
they really do.
So that's that with Bob Thompson. Patrick Crakes, again, will join us. He's been with us before on some of what this means. He'll help maybe break down why wouldn't you wait to the open period? Why would you do this? Or what does it matter if Big 12 gets in front of the Pac-12? All of that from his perspective.
Obviously, is streaming important at all in the grand scheme of things? Because it wouldn't appear to be if they're already getting a deal done this quickly and there's no mention of a streamer being involved, which – you know, I think some of that did get blown out of proportion to just the importance of it. That's why all along I was curious about, like, how much does this really matter? Because I think I said probably 100 times over the summer, like, I'm not keen to go to Amazon to watch the Pac-12 game if that's what you're going to make me do. I'm going to probably sit on my cable, and I know not everybody still has cable, so this is not really a conversation for you, but the majority of people still do. And like myself and my setup, I kind of have to have it the way that I am currently. So, yeah, I wasn't keen on the idea of, you know, hopping from app to app to try to find the college football game that I want to watch versus what I can do now with just going up and down.
Did anybody, like, and there's a lot of cord cutters out there, but did anybody think that cable wasn't going to fight back on a lot of this stuff?
For some reason, there seems to be like a very small part that seems to think that, but I don't think most people really have ever bought that it was just going to go away.
Yeah, but I mean, like, what they've kind of also done now is morph all this stuff into it's just cable again.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, you can get the app if you sign up for us for our Super Plus plan, whatever it is, you can get all this stuff. So even the apps, like Hulu has, they're essentially a cable plan where they have, you're paying for cable. So it's all the same thing. It's just packaged differently. And they were going to fight back. And so they're trying to find ways also to make you go traditional again because networks still matter.
Yeah, they do. And it's also what happens, and it's something that Patrick Crakes may be able to discuss with us as far as what networks you're on. And yes, the streamers, there's some value there and maybe massive at some point. Thursday Night Football, of course, they're spending a lot of money with the NFL. But it's also where you're going to get promoted. And that is a part of it. And I'm sure that Brett Yormark, when they do discuss and talk with Fox and also ESPN, okay, we're going to do this. This is what we're going to do. Okay, this is our number. But you need to make sure you're a part of this and promote us like you do everybody else and help us as well. And, of course, it helps the Big 12 needs teams to step up, and some of them have in recent years, over the last several years, in fact.
Yeah.
Toughest up.
I think there's definitely some give and take. The Big 12 has to hold up its end, and I use the SEC mention, is they got some very significant backing and, well, straight-up propaganda from ESPN in the early 2000s, but why it worked was because, and why we all went with it, was because Alabama and Auburn and Florida and, you know, everybody was winning. LSU were all winning titles back to back to back to back, and Alabama's dynasty started, and you had a full-on SEC national championship game at one point. So it's like you can't argue that they're not the best because look at all the results. But, you know, it certainly helped early on to have that push of being told they're the best. They have the best athletes. They have the most passion. They have the best. Like, we were fed that. And then, you know, you saw the results. So I think if you could get an agreement of some sort with an ESPN or a Fox of like, yeah, present us the way you present others, present us as a top brand. And, you know, then we have to hold up our end of the bargain. I think they're showing right now they've got several teams in the mix, and, you know, that can be a good relationship for both. So I think if they're able to strike with ESPN Fox as it appears, as opposed to their counterpart who's talking, you know, basically online channels and app channels and whatever to find their games, that's a significant win for the Big 12, and that would make total sense to get their deal done this early.
Why wouldn't you promote what you have put investment in, right? I mean, why wouldn't you?
But
all right, toughest upcoming schedules. This is from, in fact, Fox College Football, which at times they have put things up that you want to just, whoever it was should have been all but escorted out of the building. Here are the base combined opponents' winning percentage that these teams have coming up in front of them. Top of the list, Louisville, opponent win percentage, 80. Texas, 77%. Northwestern, which has struggled after their opening win against Nebraska in Ireland. California, Mississippi State, LSU, Michigan State, Baylor, Alabama, and Kansas State. 3 of the top 10, Texas, Baylor, and K-State, have the meat of their schedule coming up in front of them among the top teams, top 10 toughest schedules coming up. Yeah,
and I'd say all 3 basically have to win this weekend, or really need to win this weekend. Obviously, Texas, I was just talking about them as kind of a, who's still in, who's out as far as them and Oklahoma State goes, and whoever wins that game. Then Texas turns around and plays K-State. Well, K-State's got TCU this weekend, so these next 2 weeks for those 2 teams are really going to, I guess in theory they could go 1-1 or something, but those are really going to say something about both those teams and kind of where they are when we look up in a couple of weeks. And then for Baylor, obviously, if they don't win this weekend, good night. Put them to bed. No question about that. If you're not going to beat Kansas at home on homecoming after the last 2 losses that you've had and the way that you've lost those games, then I'm not going to have any more if they can just get it to, I'm going to be done with that whole narrative, because if it's not happening this weekend, it's not happening in my mind. What are we going to go all the way? Well, it's the first week of December, but if they can, I'm not going to do that anymore. So, yeah, I'd say that it's a very important weekend for them, and they do have a tough remaining schedule. They still got Texas. They still got OU. They still got TCU. They still got Tech in Lubbock. Yeah, I'm not surprised to see them on there, and that's why, again, this game this weekend against KU is I hate to say this every week, but this is the last time I'll say it. This is a must-win.
Kansas Baylor's an elimination game.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. All right, so that's that. Now, here's a basketball note. Don't do Clint Sterner. Let's go to the basketball note. Obviously, a lot of this is around the corner, but here's from John Watstein, and I saw Ross Dellinger, who will join us tomorrow on this from SI.com. The Division I Transformational Committee, which Baylor President Dr. Linda Livingstone is on, they've been, kind of some movement to try to maybe clean some things up, or at least maybe make things more simple, has had dialogue to expand the NCAA tournament in all sports to include 25% of the programs who are eligible. That would mean men's basketball, which right now is at 68. If you added about another 20 teams, which is 20% of whatever, give them the 20% of 300, whatever the number is, you would have as many as possibly 88, 90 teams. Many have opposed this. When I first saw this, I'm thinking it's great. College football is going to have expansion to the playoffs. I wanted that 25 or 30 years ago. Is this a good idea? It's money. It's all about money.
No, it's so perfect the way it is right now. It's so perfect and beautiful. Don't mess it up. And here's the other thing they need to, and this is maybe a semantics argument I might be having with this committee, but the NCAA tournament already has every team that's playing in it. It's called the conference tournaments. Those tournaments are postseason tournaments. Most of the teams in the postseason tournament should not be playing in the postseason based on their conference record. So you already have that expansion. Maybe put more focus on the conference tournaments and promote that a little bit better and include that as the overall NCAA tournament, as opposed to doing this, which also then further negates the importance of the conference tournaments. Because there's 20 more teams you're getting in, then why is Kansas City important for the Big 12? Why is New York City important for the ACC? Why are all these things important if 20 teams more teams are going to get in? Most of those teams that would get in needed to have a good showing in the conference tournament. Now it negates that.
I guess if, look at it from a Big 12 perspective, and other conferences could probably say this, but the Big 12, especially with, the 10 team setup, although that changes next year, obviously, basically the whole conference would make the NCAA tournament. So I guess that you cheer that, but I think this is big-time participation trophy and money grab is what this is.
And he'll give you a stat. You get, what do you call them? What are the markers or whatever you want to get for every time a team advances? It's worth like $2 million in the NCAA men's tournament. So if you add another 2 or 3 or 4 teams from your conference in and any of them win, you're talking about $2 million, and then, of course, increases your odds to have more of that in the following rounds.
I'll tell you, I will personally lose interest in college basketball to an extent if they do it this way. That's going to kill some of the importance of, why do I care about the conference tournament? So that the team that I'm watching can get like the 85th spot in this. Like, are they really deserving if they're team 85? Yeah, because I do think it's number 63. Yeah, 63 right now matters. That playing game like that matters the way that it's currently set up. Not everybody might be watching it. We might not always be able to tell you exactly who's playing in that bad boy, but we know, like, oh, that's a big deal that those teams got this opportunity. If you expand it by another 20, then, like, how much are we watering this thing down to where you're going to have, like, below 500 teams making this tournament? And I guess that, there's certain situations that will be unique regardless, but I don't know. This just seems like a really cheap money grab and really lowers some of the fun of kind of that chase in the end to get some of those few remaining spots. Because now, like, you could lose in the first round of your conference tourney and be a borderline team and still be getting in without any much of a sweat. So I don't know about.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Ma'am, we're a business. This is not an office.
On the door.
Sorry.
Sign on the door.
It's the second person. There's a sign. This is okay. I'm sorry, Craig. Yeah, but we were talking about the expansion possibly.
It just waters it down. It's a cheap money grab. That was the basic gist of it.
UCLA was a play-in team in 2021.
Yeah. Got to the Final Four.
Well, they wouldn't have had to even have sweated.
I know.
I mean, they would have been in by a large margin and wouldn't even have had a question about it.
Yep.
So, how unique is that now if you really think about it? Like, yeah, oh, wow, they made the tournament. We wouldn't even have been talking about it if it was this new setup. And
I like it the way it is.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah. I don't see why you mess with it other than if you're just trying to make more money, which, again, is why I keep saying money grab, because that's the first thing that comes to mind. But I'm sure there's an argument like why this would be cool. I just fail to see it in this very moment.
Looking at the chat room, I'm not saying it's unanimous, but most of you say or agree with us. And you think, why? And by the way, Roger the Dodger, lock the door? Okay, Roger. It's an FBI raid from Phil Venza.
It's just amazing how many people don't look at things. I mean, there's a sign that's smack dab where your face is, and people just, it's not even there to people. It's weird how just locked in we are to things.
One of the reasons is this is a condo complex, apartment complex, whatever you want. There really is no office here, and I don't want to take too much time on this. There's really not an office. You got to call a number, I'm sure, or whoever. Most places have kind of an office somewhere that's even separate from the buildings. This is the only what looks like would be the office. It's 2 black doors, a bunch of windows, whatever. But we do have people just walk on in. DoorDash walks in. We welcome them with open arms.
Even if it's not even ours.
No. Last night,
a lot of free chicken that way.
Appalachian State beat Georgia State 42-17. Tonight, 2 games. Troy and South Alabama, 5-2 and 5-1. And Virginia at 2-4 plays Georgia Tech. They are 3-3. Those are the games tonight in college football. I think we've hit on everything that I can imagine. I want to say one great note. Some of you may not know who he is, but I want to say it on the show. Dennis Alexander, longtime high school football coach at Dangerfield. Got a call last night from him. Coach Alexander coached perhaps the greatest single-season team in the history of Texas football in 1983 Dangerfield. They outscored their opponents 600 and something to 8, 14 shutouts, including 13 to close out the year. He got a call from the Texas High School Football Hall of Fame. He will be inducted next May 2023. A great man. Love the guy to death. Proud of him. And Lorena's John Henry, the running back. We mentioned that a week ago. He's been told he's going in to represent the decade of the 80s. And so that is who is going to be a part of it, and they'll have the bigger announcement as the year goes on. I love Dennis Alexander. Glad it's long time coming. All right, when we come back, our schedule today, we will have Max Olson next from theathletic.com on college football in general. This is 365 Sports.
During Jeep Adventure Days, Allen Samuels in Waco is celebrating with an incredible lineup of 2022 models like the Grand Cherokee L, Renegade, Wrangler, and the Wrangler 4xe. These vehicles bring power to plow through any obstacles or the smooth, peaceful ride you'd expect from a Jeep. Jeep SUVs are also known for their design and technology. The Grand Cherokee L even brings you extended seating with a third row. Come see what Allen Samuels can offer you and your family and find the Jeep SUV that fits your lifestyle.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. it's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
TFNB Your Bank for Life is the official local bank of Baylor Athletics. Find out why more Central Texas are making TFNB their bank for life. Sign up for our Edge checking and savings accounts to earn interest or cash back. With 5 convenient locations and an award-winning mobile app, banking has never been easier. TFNB, your bank for life. Member FDIC.
It's football and tailgate season. If you want product for the grill or smoker, charcoal, seasonings, marinades, sauces, Waco Custom Marketplace is your home to help prep, cook, and enjoy your food. Tailgate must like brisket, tri-tip, fresh-made burgers, sausage, chicken wings, and if you want steaks, call in your order and pick them up. Bacon wrap fillets or any kind of ribeyes. USDA Select Choice and Prime that melt in your mouth. House-made sausage and jerky. Also, Waco Custom Marketplace, a one-stop shop for tailgating, barbecue, cook-offs, and family get-togethers, fundraisers with fair prices to you, the customer. A bakery with fresh baked bread and kolaches. There's cold beer, wine, and soft drinks. Serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. A cut above the rest. Waco Custom Marketplace, open Monday through Saturday at 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
So a couple of you have asked, you say it's a combination of our TV set and tool time. Jack McKenzie, the man of all things building, is building something for inside the studio. He is very good, a jack of all trades, so to speak. So that's what you see on the wide shot here at our studio. And so that's what we're doing inside our studio, construction going on. So Gary Wilson, among others, have asked. Red Wine 365 or 65 also asked as well. Max Olson, theathletic.com, with us on 365 Sports, college football senior writer, and he joins us on 365 Sports. Max, thank you very much. And man, this could be kind of a separation weekend with the Big 12, Oklahoma State and Texas, TCU, and, of course, Kansas State, and really almost an elimination game in Waco between Kansas and Baylor.
Yeah, certainly. It's you know, as we get deeper into October here, you know, we are going to start to kind of have to talk about, like, all right, who's in this thing and who's in danger of falling out of it. I love these matchups here that we get on Saturday afternoon and at night with Oklahoma State, Texas, and TCU, K-State. Real chance for some very good teams here to prove that they, you know, not just belong in that top 10 conversation, but belong at the front of the race here.
Max, Blake Shapen's going to play. Jaden Daniels not going to play. What do you think that means for Jason Bean and the Jayhawks this game? Do you think that maybe a couple games in he has raised his level enough to get them off this losing skid?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that as rough as the OU game was, I don't necessarily think that Kansas is getting blown out the rest of the way here without Jalen Daniels. I think that certainly the Jayhawks defense has not been good enough this year, and you're seeing that. You obviously saw that last weekend, but I think that Jason Bean is a guy that's you saw him a lot last year. He's a guy that can do things, and when he stepped in against TCU, he was able to make a lot of plays in the second half. So I do think Baylor is still going to have its hands full in some way. I don't think this Kansas team is given up by any means, especially when you're one win away from getting to a bowl game. I think Kansas is, while they're maybe regressing a little bit, I think they're still a pretty tough out.
Max, somebody will be 4-0, be the lone 4-0 team in Big 12 play after the Kansas State and TCU contest in Fort Worth. Obviously, TCU with an impressive come-from-behind win last week to get it done against the Pokes, and K-State's obviously playing pretty well. What are your thoughts on kind of how this game unfolds and what style you sort of expect to see emerge between these two purple teams on Saturday?
Yeah, you go look at that K-State schedule, and they're about to play the three best teams in the Big 12 in consecutive weeks here. So this would be a huge one if they could pull this off, because then you kind of get a little bit of a mulligan maybe down the road here. Or if you can at least split these games against TCU and Oklahoma State, then maybe if you can go beat Texas, you're in front of this whole thing. So I think that obviously the challenge that they present in terms of Adrian Martinez and Deuce Vaughn and one of the best rushing attacks in the country is going to be an interesting change-up for TCU after what they saw last week against Spencer Sanders and Oklahoma State. I love how the Frogs are playing just in all phases. I think it's been just so impressive to see what Sonny Dykes has been able to do with this group and the buy-in you see from them. And I thought that response last week when it didn't start well for them and when it wasn't going right to just kind of fight and claw their way back was was huge. It's huge, especially when you're trying to set that culture in year one. So I can't. It feels like a coin flip to me. I don't really have a strong feeling on who's going to win, but certainly I think that right now these are probably two of the maybe two of the hottest teams in the conference and in the country, just in terms of how they're playing right now.
Max, what were your thoughts the last day or two, Brett Yormark, at Big 12 Media Days in Kansas City with men's and women's basketball, but the comment about the possibility they might have something in the next week or two, an extension, obviously, because it wouldn't be anything new. It would be an extension. What are your thoughts about what actually that means?
Yeah, it's very interesting. I think we need to kind of remember to say, if they pull this off, because it seems like in the way this is kind of being pitched, it's still trying to convince ESPN and Fox to do this and that it's worth $400 million or whatever the number ends up being. But I think, ultimately, bottom line, if you think about the journey that this conference has been on, if you can maintain the money and not take a haircut, then if I told you that would be the case, in August of 21, you'd say, wow, how did they pull that off, without Texas and Oklahoma? So I think if you can get, that extension and get the money to be good enough for 12 members, that would be a pretty big win for the Big 12 in terms of stability. Now, what does that mean for future members and all that? Who knows? But I could definitely see why Brett Yormark is trying to make that appeal to those networks. And of course, there's not a lot of leverage here. Like, there's no alternative. You can't just go right to market if they say no. So either he pulls this off, or they have to wait until the spring of 24 to really dig into this stuff. So curious to see if they can get a deal done. It seems like there's optimism about it, but certainly as you guys saw with the Big Ten, TV deals don't exactly get hammered out in a month either.
Yeah, to me, Max, if they, he says done in 2 weeks, then it seems like everybody was just happy with the first couple of offers, which this would be the easiest TV negotiation in history.
Yeah, I don't know. That's where maybe I just have a little skepticism just based on what's been going on. But, I think that certainly, like I said, if you can just maintain where you're at with this new membership going forward. In the short term, I don't know how long of a deal you do here, but if they can get the networks to agree to that, it does give you some stability and maybe some, just a sense of, how does that compare to the Pac-12 and the ACC? I don't know, but I could see why that feels like the right compromise to pursue right now.
Max, how concerned are you about Spencer Sanders' health going into this game against Texas?
Yeah, that was I'm not sure how much you guys picked up on all that, but that was pretty interesting last Saturday morning, all the rumors about him being out or how injured is he or no one knows. And he's fine and he's starting and he's running for a touchdown on the opening drive. That was pretty wild last week. And, where he's at this week for Texas, I don't know. Certainly when that's one of those teams, just like with Oklahoma, maybe not as extreme as what you saw with Oklahoma and Red River, but that's one of those teams where you don't have experience behind Spencer Sanders. You have, Gunnar Gundy and you have a true freshman. It's going to be tough without him. So I'm sure they're doing everything they possibly can to get him right for a huge game here, because the alternative is, especially when they're not really running the ball, especially effectively, you kind of need him. You need him to have a chance in this game.
Who is the most irreplaceable starting quarterback in the Big 12? Because a lot of them have already had to go with their backups, won without him and lost as well without him.
I mean, what's the scoring margin without Dylan Gabriel this season?
Right.
Pretty bad, right? I think he's probably the most irreplaceable. Because I think that, you saw Barry Morton. I thought that Kyron Drones had some good moments. Obviously, some tough plays, but some good moments. Like, you feel pretty good about the youth of the quarterbacks in this conference. Like, you feel like if Max Duggan got hurt, obviously they have a lot of trust in Chandler Morris to step into a game. You've seen Hudson Card have to play a lot. I think it's Oklahoma and Oklahoma State that really just don't have that solidified. And certainly you saw the difference. The gap between what you get from Dylan Gabriel in the passing game and Davis Beville is pretty dramatic.
Max Olson, theathletic.com, with us on 365 Sports.
Max, what do you make of Iowa State?
Man, that's a good question. I think that, first of all, I think they've been more banged up than they've been in past few years. I know they're dealing with a lot of injuries. Certainly at the running back position, that's been pretty glaring. And obviously there's no one guy that replaces Breece Hall, but the run game has not been, very scary for opposing defenses so far this season. I think Hunter Dekkers is still learning on the job here a little bit. I was pretty bullish on him going into the season as a guy that was ready for this and had some skills that were pretty exciting, but I think he's still learning. Obviously offensively, it's all Xavier Hutchinson. I mean, there's just not. I think he's still leading the country in targets this year. I mean, he kind of has to do everything for them, which is a little bit challenging when you don't have that help in the run game. And then defensively, they're top 10 in stop rate still. They're really good on defense. And I think we had Deuce Vaughn on our podcast this week, and he's like, Iowa State's a really good team. The people who played them, I think, have been pretty impressed, but certainly just not good enough right now in terms of winning close games in the conference. And I think it'll turn for them, but in terms of getting to a bowl game this year, they're going to have to win the games that they're expected to win, and then they're going to have to steal one or two here.
Have they been bad enough to where nobody will talk about Matt Campbell for another job this offseason?
No, I don't think so.
Max, does the Texas hype train take off if they get a win this weekend?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean, I think that it would be interesting to see how much they jump in the polls if they were to win this game. Now, obviously, the stats of Spencer Sanders, it sort of affects how impressive a win would be.
Right.
But yeah, no, I think in terms of what they're working with on offense right now, and you saw it against Iowa State in a game that was probably closer than people expected. But I'll say this every week. I mean, just what they have with Bijan Robinson and Roschon Johnson, it's pretty special. And I think when you pair that with Xavier Worthy and what they're able to do in the passing game, like, it does make Quinn Ewers' job not too tough. I think the O-line's been better than I expected, and defensively they've been good enough. So, I mean, if you're a Texas fan right now, you probably do feel like you've at least got the dudes to get to Arlington. Now it's just a question of can you can Ewers be consistent and can they win close games?
And sometimes you need a break, and they got one when Hutchinson just panicked and dropped the long ball that might have been a walk-in touchdown, and they forced the turnover. So you got to force it as well.
That's a matter of Hutchinson was worn out. It's a long game, and he's getting the ball a lot. And he's hitting big plays all the time and stuff. And it's just sometimes you get that break, and then obviously the fumble after that is a tough one for Iowa State's hands, but and certainly questionable. But yeah, you're right. You definitely need some lucky breaks along the way.
Max, is the Alabama dynasty over as far as we talk about overreactions this week in college football? And how much did you enjoy, like most people, just the atmosphere, the pageantry, if you will, of that game in Knoxville last weekend?
I mean, don't you guys wish you were there?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
Oh my God, it just looks incredible to be in that stadium. I know David Ubben being there. He said it's one of the best games he's ever seen in his career, his life doing this. I mean, I don't believe it. I bet everybody there will remember that one as an all-timer. It was a lot of fun to watch. And, guys, I'm not going to say the dynasty's dead by any means, but it is interesting. I mean, we've got 3 games now, Tennessee, A&M, and Texas, where you'd say, Alabama's not bad, but they don't look a lot better than the team they're lining up against. And, certainly Tennessee was able to hit them, their flaws in the secondary and some of the areas where they're just, not as elite as Alabama usually is. But, Bryce Young's really, really good. Jahmyr Gibbs is really, really good. They're still kind of figuring out some stuff. But, yeah, it's interesting that there's been a couple games now where you just sort of feel like, man, they're very talented, but maybe the standard is just so high with all these national championship teams they've had that you just feel like they're not quite as scary as you kind of expected them to be.
Max, thank you as always. Have a great weekend. Enjoy another weekend of great college football. We appreciate your time.
Thanks, guys.
Max Olson, theathletic.com, with us on Thursdays, 3:34, depending on his schedule, what he's doing. He's got his own podcast he's got his own show with the Big 12 as well.
Yeah, and I asked that Texas question respectfully because I know that we're all prone to either completely overrating them or underrating them or what have you, and I feel like if they win this weekend in Stillwater, obviously Spencer Sanders' health will kind of adjust how great it would look, but if he plays and is healthy enough and they go out there and they get a win, no matter how they do that, I think that all the tongue-in-cheek kind of like Texas is back, I think you'd really have to start talking about it. Like, there'd be a month left and they'd be sitting there pretty and with a huge win on the road against a top 10 team. I think, you'd have to really start to get serious about where they are in the pecking order, because I think they'd be one of the top 3 teams that you were suddenly looking at. And if they lose this weekend, that Tech loss really comes back to bite them in the butt a bit. But yeah, that's an interesting result. And for Oklahoma State, yeah, just kind of try to keep your head above water and hope there's not really too much other than, mostly gamesmanship to this whole Spencer Sanders thing. But obviously none of us outside of Gundy and Spencer Sanders and whoever's involved in his health keeping is really aware of just where we are with that right now.
Well, he didn't, even with all that going on, he played last week. Towards the end of that game, he wasn't playing well, and if he's not much better than he was at the end of that game, maybe he's better than the next best option on the roster, but that's a huge advantage for Texas because he was very limited. There were just things that were not, happening they normally do.
Spencer Sanders to Gunnar Gundy is not Quinn Ewers to Hudson Card.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not. There's a bit more of a drop-off with all due respect. So, yeah, I think his health, and how much he's involved would matter in whatever win they could obtain. But just in general, I think that now getting close to knocking on the door of November – typically you'd say, well, if they win in Dallas, well, they did that. They got the win in Dallas. It's, a different Oklahoma team than we've been seeing, but I think you like them in pretty much every matchup if they win this weekend. TCU obviously will be crazy, K-State, but yeah, I think we got to get serious about that and not so much tongue-in-cheek talk if they're able to pull that off.
I agree. I agree whether Sanders plays or not. It's a win, and it gets them to, 4-1 in the conference, and now they're halfway past it, and by the way, become bowl eligible, which they can't take for granted because of what we've seen in the last 10 or 12 years. All right, when we come back, we continue. At 4 o'clock, we're going to hear from Patrick Crakes, former Fox executive and media consultant. At 5 o'clock, Adam Rittenberg. We have the off the radar. And we also have Mickey on the Cowboys in the NFL today, plus Paul's top 5. This is 365 Sports.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac, got a lot of great deals going on right now at Richard Carr. They've got new inventory. They've got used inventory. They've got, a lot to offer you if you're in the market for a new or a pre-owned vehicle at the moment. And they are known for their customer service over at Richard Carr. I've had my car over there a couple times. I've relayed that story on this show. Had a couple of fender benders, minor accidents, and had my car over there, and they got it taken care of, and just like brand new when I got it back in a very short amount of time. So I do appreciate them for that, and I can vouch for how well they handled my business, even though I didn't buy a car from them originally. But for those in the market for a car right now, head on over because the wait is over. They've got trucks, SUVs all over the lot. 2022 GMC Acadias, Terrains, and Sierras have arrived, and they're waiting for you to get on in and test drive today. The Sierra offers best-in-class towing, strong steel bed, multi-pro tailgate, advanced collision avoidance, luxurious interior, massive touchscreens, 14 camera views, premium comfort, a.k.a. it's got all the bells and whistles, so that's one of the many offerings they have over there. They've also got Cadillac XT4 and XT5 SUVs. Go see for yourself the amount of vehicles on the lot and the different options that they have, and maybe exactly what you're looking for is not on the lot. You can still get on their inbound vehicle list and cut in line for trucks that are in production but not quite in stock, or you can let them help you design the exact truck or SUV you want, and they will have GMC prioritize it for you. So for 23 years in Central Texas, Richard Carr has built a reputation as the people you can count on for your automotive needs. Log on to richardcarr.com today. Call now or go see them now off Highway 6 at the Imperial Exit.
Make a winning drive to Genco and refinance your vehicle. Every loan can skip monthly payments for 90 days with rates as low as 3.75% APR for 48 months. Right now is the time to make a play. At Genco, we save you money by helping you pay less for your car. Every loan scores no payments for 90 days. Then have a chance to win 3 more months of no payments. Apply online today for an additional discount of 0.15% off our already low rates, subject to credit approval, membership eligibility, and loan policies. For more information, go to GencoFCU.org. Member NCUA.
Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, cause weight gain, and wreak havoc on your sexual desire and performance. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results, so if you're tired of being tired, I challenge you to man up and Google search Low T Waco or go online, pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $150 a month, includes lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, follow-up visits compared to $395 a month in Dallas or Austin, and you don't have to fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T as board-certified physician consultations will provide the best form of brand-strength testosterone available. Contact Petty Clinic Low T today, just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway. Petty Clinic Low T, helping men become the high-performance men they deserve to be. PettyClinicLowT.com or Google search Low T Waco.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Baylor Scott and White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears.
This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The Sikkim 365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
Don't forget tonight, if you are in the Central Texas area, Sports Tonight, 10:30 on the CW channel. I had somebody today, it was earlier, 2 days ago, at the gym go, "Hey, man, I watched that show at 10:30. I said, "That's great." He goes, "I used to watch it at 10:30. I was a big Seinfeld fan." I didn't realize that's what we basically just bumped them.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can get Netflix and watch Seinfeld.
Yeah. So 10:30, CW channel, thanks to Josh Young and the great people who helped put that on, along with Emery Winter and the job he does every day to condense it.
But we just cost that guy like $10 a month.
Yeah, no, that's right. Okay, now here are the helmets. Oregon. Saturday against UCLA, game day, all of it. Ducks are honoring breast cancer awareness, auctioning helmets with proceeds going to the Cancer Institute.
It's pretty good luck. Never seen a pink duck before.
Yeah, I mean, that's cool. Yeah, that's an interesting color combination that actually seems to work for them. I'm not a big lover of pink all over uniforms, even if it is for a good cause. I don't know. It always looks the best, but it actually looks, for what they're trying to pull off, that actually looks pretty sharp.
It's the at OHSU Night. That's the Night Cancer Institute provides individually tailored, compassionate care for patients from diagnosis through survivorship. So those helmets are Oregon this week, UCLA, and a really, really nice. They needed one. Not that they got 3 or 4 teams in the conversation. Utah and USC was fantastic. UCLA's unbeaten. Be a heck of a game. Great opportunity for the Pac-12 to shine. That game is in Eugene.
If UCLA loses that one, that's going to be interesting down the stretch as everything that's going on in that side of the Pac-12. It's going to be a good game. I mean, clearly you got 2 quarterbacks playing at a good level. Bo Nix has been consistent, which he wasn't at Auburn. That was kind of the thing about Bo Nix, is you either got this like ridiculously heroic performance or what is going on. But he's been very consistent at Oregon. I'm looking forward to watching that one.
I am too.
Yeah.
I really am too. I'm looking forward to it. All right, coming up next. Yesterday we discussed a little bit and the word out of Kansas City with Brett Yormark and what's going on with the Big 12 and the possibility that they extend early with ESPN and Fox. And what does it actually mean from somebody who's been a part of that before, and Patrick Crakes, former Fox executive and also media consultant. That's next on 365 Sports. Waco Custom Marketplace, your hometown grocery store, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco. And here are some of the specials. Baylor, of course, with homecoming morning, 11 o'clock kick with Kansas. So if you are looking for something to have for your tailgate, either that or whatever you do after the game ends, ground beef, chili ground beef, for if you want to put together a pot of chili, however you make it. Chili ground beef is $3.59 a pound. Stew meat, $4.75 a pound. Bacon ends and pieces, $2.75 a pound. They have bone-in and boneless pork butt, $1.59 to $1.79 a pound. Pound of ground chicken, 1 pound of frozen ground chicken, $1.99 a pound, and pepperoni snack sticks, pretty expensive. I mean, not there. It's a good price. $5.99 a pound. Plus, brisket, tri-tip, sausage, chicken wings. You want it, they have it. And it's also, of course, a place where you can find all the knickknacks you need, from canned goods to pasta to bread. They have a bakery that's constantly churning out various sweets and treats. And then again, bread, fresh baked bread, kolaches, and a butcher shop for your particular, whatever you want, whether it's for a tailgate or anything else at home. It's Waco Custom Marketplace at 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Hi, I'm Mark Stewart with Bird Culligan Ford. It's that time of year. It's football season, and BK Ford is a proud supporter of the best high school football teams in Texas, right here in Central Texas. BK Ford is proud to sell the #1 truck in Texas, the F-Series truck, led by our leading rusher, the F-150, 45 years in a row. Lock in your best price and rate today by custom ordering your new F-150 at BK Ford. Simple, easy, trusted. Experience better at Bird Culligan Ford.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
There are 26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel and Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel and Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneerboys.com.
Don Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don Humidor in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive, North 19th Street, right behind the bank, is a hidden gem in Waco. If you're a fan of bourbon, especially local Texas bourbons, that's where you gotta go. Balcones, TX, Devil's River, whatever it is, they've got it. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, plus the best selection of craft beers in Waco, seasonally churned out throughout the year. Whether it's spring, summer, fall, or winter, Riverbend Liquor and Wine, best selection of craft beers, a speedy drive-through window, and excellent customer service. Find out more on Instagram or just go by and see them. Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street behind the bank.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Take it to Mathis. Daniels. throws it right back to him. It's Dylan Doyle.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
We have leaned on a couple of former Fox Sports and Fox executives who have been a part of the various negotiations over the years. Bob Thompson and also Pat Crakes. Both, of course, have given us some insight, knowledge, experience, and Pat Crakes joins us on 365 Sports. Pat, thank you for your time with Paul, David, and Craig. So when you saw that Brett Yormark was, I don't know, predicting, but basically said that there's a chance in the next couple of weeks, and I don't think he meant it just as a, just throw it against the wall and sticks, that the Big 12 could actually expand or extend their current deal moving forward. What was your thoughts, and what does that actually mean?
Well, my first thought, Smokey, was you're telling me there's a chance, and that was my first thought. I think Brett is working the phones hard. I think that he's trying to change the way some business is done at the conference because he understands that the conference is actually in kind of a struggle for its existence. He's trying to steady that with leadership. He's trying to steady that with some kind of short-term direction. He's been talking to the right people, I think. He went out to New York, and there's a lot of important people in the sports media business in New York, and he's working with an important public relations firm. He's on the right track with everything. And as part of that is constant communication with your partners. I know this week I have several clients overseas in Asia, and I have been up at crazy hours talking to them about things. So you always have to talk to your partners, in particular if you've got something going on inside your entire business that is has already altered its shape and could potentially alter it even further. So I think he's getting as much information as he can. He's getting as much intelligence as he can. He's processing it. You do that by talking to people. So as part of that, I think ESPN and Fox Sports have been receptive to the idea that there might be a way to extend a deal. I think in some ways, I think that makes a lot of sense for the Big 12, given everything that happened with the USC-UCLA maneuver, and prior to that, Texas-Oklahoma. And now, thanks to college football expansion, things have kind of calmed down a little bit as everybody's trying to sort out where the economics are all going and digest everything.
So outside of that communication part, like numbers-wise, must they have kind of already had the idea of what it was going to be early on so there wasn't so much haggling back and forth on the overall number of what the yearly contract is going to be?
Well, I don't. So I think, any extension would probably add more value to the deal, but I don't know that it's going to add a strategic amount more. It's unclear to me, just how long this extension is going to go for. And, the Big 12 kind of needs some stability. They're in a different boat than the Pac-12. Everybody keeps treating them the same. They're not. Pac-12 doesn't have contract, and the Big 12 does. And we've got a college football playoff expansion going on, and we may be doing that, here right away, or maybe not. So there's a lot of things to be settled, and there's something to be said for kind of we've got our deals in place, and we're working hard on getting better at what we do under new leadership, and everybody looks to be taking a bit of a breather. So, we're gonna use that time to get ourselves together, to keep our economics flowing, and kind of get past the next 18 months and be able to see what the visibility is out from there. I mean, the distribution landscape that pays all the bills for these things is evolving. And pay TV and the current established system will still be here in 2 or 3 years. And it's going to be required from that system to still support a majority of the economics. I see some of these really far-fetched ideas about Amazon and the Pac-12 that involve like Amazon running the IT departments of all the Pac-12 universities. And there's all these crazy, it's like we've got to get past kind of this digestion phase and be able for a conference like the Big 12 to be able to see what the future landscape looks like. Who are the continued players? Who are going to be the new players? Where are the economics coming from that mix? There is no quick pirouette to a different distribution system that gives you really the kind of reach to build a brand, and the economics still not there, despite the success of Thursday Night Football on Amazon, which is unprecedented, never happened before in streaming, and is, going back to what, levels that are more reasonable every week. So there's some kind of feeling that there's like a lot to, you put your property on there, you'll do the same thing. Well, no, you won't, because some of your property is already on streaming and nobody does any kind of number like that. So you want to get past these kind of false starts, and you want to be able to see out a little further. The Big 12 has a contract, and extending it out for a couple years makes some sense. So when you go back to the economics of the conference, that's not where they're going to really strike in the extension, unless they've come in and said, look, we're prepared to just extend this deal. We'll take a reasonable increase and we'll go forward 8 years. But I can't believe Brent's looking to do that. I think he wants to stabilize. I think he wants to preserve the value and then look forward to a way to create real strategic value in a couple years.
What does this mean, Pat, in your mind when you see that Big 12 news? If it is in fact what we see, something announced here in the next week or two with ESPN and Fox. So what does this mean in regards to the Pac-12? I'm sure that's a question you've been getting quite a bit.
Yeah, I don't. So I have. And by the way, if you're just on Twitter, I mean, some of these ideas from very engaged sports fans, I know they think they make sense, but they're hard to process. I think that, if there's some news of an extension, expect it to be a reasonably termed one, right? A couple years.
Right.
I think that I don't think you should be looking for anything super exciting. And I would say that there's probably a good chance it doesn't happen. Okay, I would say that probably. Brett's a salesman, and, he may have a deal, he may not have a deal. We'll see, right? But if it does happen, I can see the reason why, but I wouldn't expect it to be a couple years, longer than a couple years. Concerning the Pac-12, they're kind of in a different box. They don't have a deal. They do have value. They're just like the Big 12. I think they could do a deal. But there's been, the Thursday Night Football numbers from Amazon, the week 1 number was a very good number. But the streaming alone number is about 20% less of that. The rest of that stuff is on established platforms. And every week it's kind of been creeping down. And even with it creeping down, it's still a phenomenal success because, as I said earlier, streaming doesn't do these kind of numbers despite this perception that it's everywhere, right? Because it kind of is, but everybody's not engaging with it at the same time. And there's no sports media stuff on any streaming platform anywhere that's ever done anything close to this. Because if there was, we'd know. So you can't just assume you put your content in behind a streaming paywall and you get kind of like some multiple less of what Thursday Night Football is getting on Prime Video, which, by the way, is going down every week pretty much, and we've got like 7 airings of that, right? So the Pac-12 has got to sort out where it wants to live. Streaming's an option, but I view it as complementary. I think they're a little confused, or maybe they don't really know what they want to do. And the linear networks, are a place where I think they want the Pac-12, but Pac-12 is not something that they have like infinite leverage. They're going to have to figure out a way to strike a deal with their established partners. I know there's some talk about them going exclusively to Amazon. A lot of it coming from people making up stuff. I can't imagine why they'd want to do that. But I also don't know anybody telling me why Amazon would want to do that. Outside of, this helps them with West Coast viewing or something. It's like, nobody ever tells me why Amazon would want to do this. There's more complete complementary to Thursday Night Football properties coming up in the next couple of years for bid. It doesn't mean that you don't maybe want this, but Amazon's not going to allocate infinite capital to this. They lose bids for sports media properties, guys. So they're not going to bail anybody out. They're looking to find things that complement an internal strategy that we don't fully understand. And they're going to continue to do that. And assuming that they're just going to scoop up any college conferences right, I think is making a lot of assumptions. I don't believe the conferences are doing that. I don't think the Pac-12 is doing that. But the Pac-12 is going to have to make a deal probably with its linear network partners it currently has or add a new one, right? But they're going to have to be a large portion of this. And in some ways, that makes it essential for the Big 12 to kind of like, look, let's extend. Let's make this easy. You guys sort out the Pac-12, and then we'll come back around to us. I think Brent's thinking that he will be able to maximize value by waiting a little bit. And I think that makes sense, and avoid this kind of messy inflection point where there's a lot of bad data or misunderstood data, and we've got a bad economy, and we've got all sorts of media evolution disruption going on. And, and that's going to go on for another 6 months or a year. I think it makes some sense to sail yourself through that and see what's going on the other side, in particular, having sorted out the college football playoff expansion.
Pat, the Big 12 distributed $42.6 million last year to the members, and that was something Bob Bowlesby announced at Media Days. What is, in your opinion, now that includes everything. It's not just the TV and the network deals, because we know that's not near the 42.6, but when you hear a number, let's say of 50 to 55 or 60 million, and I'm just throwing those numbers out there, that's a big gap. That includes the TV money from the networks, correct? Fox and ESPN, if that's who they go with. The college football bowl playoff, which they're getting more now because it's going to be expanded, and also bowl game revenue?
I would think it would have to. But, again, we're getting a lot of different numbers from a lot of different places. The number that matters the most that's going to push this is what national television brings for the regular season games and what you get out of the college football playoff expansion. And, the Big 12 kind of securing a spot in that is very strategic and important. I think in some ways it kind of stabilized all the movement going on. And kind of said everybody can take a break. And then I think the distribution system itself, both advertising, both, the entire system, advertising, sales, and distributors, both established and streaming, kind of said, like, look, we got to process all these new price increases. You can't just keep coming back to me every week with something new that's 20% higher. So what I would think, Brent's looking to do is he's looking to grab a couple more years, maybe get a bump, and be able to kind of let the landscape sort itself out, and also himself do what he's been doing. I think I really like what he's doing when he's out there, out in front, kind of trying to talk about what brings value to the conference. I think developing relationships, being aggressive about that, putting your money where your mouth is important. At the end of the day, this is going to be done. The deals are going to be done on the value that the distributors really feel it's worth, right? Both established and new. But, the brand positioning and, how the conference executes over the next couple of years will have a factor in that. And most importantly, once we get past a couple of this kind of confusing time, we get past the college football, we come to an agreement on a college football playoff expansion. Is it happening now? Is it happening later? Who's the partner? This and that. There may be opportunities for actual reconstruction of conferences, additions, subtractions, whatever. There could be some compromises to build value. Right now, we're not quite sure what the value is. The only thing I know for sure is that the Big 12 has value because big-time college football has never been worth more. The question is, what's the multiple off of the very tippy top? And because it's not that anymore, at least in 2 years, but it's still big-time college football. So even losing Texas and Oklahoma, it's probably worth more because that's just the environment, because we have so few less things, guys, in the system across every way to view things, digital streaming, established, pay TV broadcast, that people actually spend a lot of time with. And college football remains one of those things.
Pat, how much, I'm sure you've been in negotiations with entities who didn't really know what they were going to be in a couple years. They were just trying to solidify something for now, which is kind of what the Pac-12 is doing. How much of that can maybe, of them going to the open market, cannot be on the network so much as it is on the Pac-12 of those teams just really not knowing what's going to happen if they sign a 5 or 7 year deal, what's going to happen 4 years into that deal that could change everything for them?
I think term for them is really crucial. They don't need, I think, unless they get a great deal, unless they get a plan from a partner. Hey, let's say some of the crazier Amazon deals, manifest themselves. Amazon decides internally that they're going to overpay significantly for the Pac-12. What looks like would be an overpay, because Amazon has an internal valuation metric we don't understand that equals value, right? That's one of the problems with it. I think that the Pac-12 is at kind of, it's a very challenging time for them to negotiate for the reasons you cited. Like, the distribution landscape is changing. What's the value of a college football conference to Amazon? Well, I think they would be honest and say they're not sure themselves, because they're still figuring out their business model. So is Apple, right? But they're not just going to spend money because they have more money, which, by the way, is like the number one reason people always cite why they should do any deal with anybody. They have more money than everybody. Well, they didn't get it. They didn't get all that money by making incorrect deals, right? Or overpaying for everything. If you notice, Amazon has bid for other properties recently, and they did not overbid, right? They did. They didn't get it. They didn't come back and say, hey, I'll triple that to get this, to compensate for what you think might be a loss of reach. So we believe we have a new definition of it, right? Same with Apple, which I think is emerging, but is not defined yet. And so the Pac-12 has got a lot of challenges in this, sorting out, are we going to get this, what looks like a good offer for us, right? But somebody's going to want us for 8 or 9 years. Do we take that, or do we take a shorter deal that kind of keeps us together? I don't believe anybody's leaving that conference anytime soon. And I just don't believe that. And we kind of let the landscape evolve, and we come back at this at 4 or 5 years, and we see what everything looks like. And at the same time, we do some more of what Brent's doing, trying to figure out, how we develop partners, how we make relationships, because, when we're a year and a half removed from here, and the college football playoff expansion has been sorted out, there's going to be a little bit more visibility about how much economics are really in the system, and who's really serious and who's really not, and which partners are in decline and which ones are ascending, because so far the narrative about that has been really wrong. And, if you go back 5 years ago, Facebook was supposed to own everything, and Facebook is not a player in any of this. So it's a challenging time. Term's the key. I'd go shorter, depending on what I got distribution wise and economics wise. But the longer you go, it's exactly what you said, Smokey. It's like we could be sacrificing our future by taking 8 years now, but we're sacrificing 20 years from now. And like the NCAA men's basketball tournament did, which would look like at the time a genius deal. But over time, we've seen the value of sports, because people still watch it in a constantly attriting viewing environment across all platforms. Its value should be higher than what it is today.
Pat, how much does it help that you have two networks in Fox and ESPN, if in fact the Big 12 remains with them, that can help promote you and do a great job? Because why would you spend money on a conference if you're not going to promote it? We know what the SEC is meant for ESPN and vice versa. The Fox will be with what the Big Ten is. Does that have a value that you're going to be with two networks that can blow out everything and put your name out, constantly promote what you're doing?
Well, yeah, and let's also recognize that both Fox and ESPN currently get credit from pay TV distributors for having Big 12 football. So a portion of the sub fee for FS1, a portion of the sub fee for the ESPN brand, a small portion of the retransmission fees for ABC affiliates and for Fox affiliates and the Fox owned and operated stations, and Fox owns quite a few television stations. A portion of that is all distributors giving credit for Big 12 football. Now, obviously, that's going to evolve over the next couple of years, but there's still that credit there. So them losing the Big 12 is like, well, okay, so we're going to lose that. Okay, so we got to make it up somewhere else or figure it out. And maybe you think you can with some of your other properties. That's a portfolio approach to content acquisition, and that happens, right? But at the same time, you just assume keep it. Fox could use the games. I'm sure they feel they could use them. And I'm sure ESPN not having the Big Ten anymore is going to have a place for more content, for some content for the Big 12 as well. So there's there's value being there to the networks with the Big 12. It's not necessarily like, well, we'll just let this go, right? The question is, what's it going to cost to keep them, and for how long? And as far as the conference goes, yes, being in business with Fox and ESPN makes a lot of sense. Those two companies are committed to sports. Matter of fact, Fox is really an all-in bet on the continued survival of the profitability of established pay TV bundles, of which sports are the most important element. So if you're a sports property of any kind and you're over at Fox, you're really a priority just because sports are a priority. And ESPN is the same bet, except they have built a streaming business that's complementary to it. So, there's a lot to offer the current partners with the Big 12. And at the end of the day, I would think that something would be figured out there, certainly on an extension. I think you could do that. And then in a couple of years, you'll be able to reevaluate the value. And then that, you get that space if you're the Big 12. It's up to Brent to build more value. So when you come back to market, there's something else in there that gets you closer to the two top conferences, the Big 10 and the SEC. You don't need to catch them. You just need to keep them in the front windshield. I keep saying that.
Right.
And it's up to Brent to figuring out how to do that.
Last thing for me is that no matter if the Big 12 was to announce something in the next couple of weeks or whatever it might be, does it matter if they make any kind of announcement prior to the Pac-12? Does that affect the Pac-12? Does that mean anything at all? Or is that really not even something on the radar?
Well, I can't say it doesn't affect them. I know that he's gotten something done that he thinks strategically helps the conference sort through what its long-term plan is, right? I think that's great. The Pac-12 has something unique that no other conference has. They have those late windows for the East Coast time that are, normal windows. They're 7 o'clock on the West, on the Pacific time zone, or 6, 8 o'clock in the Mountain time zone. So, they're, in many ways, the Pac-12 offers something different than the Big 12. And I think that's important. And when we go back to that portfolio approach, that's why they're kind of complementary in many ways. And I maintain that finding a way for those two conferences to come together is the best way to do this, even though it's complicated. They're complementary. And so if you're a distributor or if you're a network, you do view them as complementary because there's game inventory that doesn't compete for its windows on your networks. And so it would obviously be like, well, okay, they got that done. That's great. But it is an extension. We're trying to do a new deal. I don't necessarily view this as a zero-sum game because they are different. I know that there's a lot of like, this is the Pac-12 versus the Big 12. I hate those narratives. I always do. They're the simplest narratives. I think it's more complicated than that. Because the Pac-12 plays in different windows, a lot of its inventory can play in different windows. They're more complementary than they are competitive. And while there's only a fixed pool of dollars that the networks are going to give, both of them have their own utility and value on their own that doesn't necessarily come from the other one. So, and back to the point about the networks and pay TV fees and retransmission fees, both ESPN and Fox are getting credit on their pay TV networks for having late night Pac-12 games from distributors. Distributors recognize the value behind that. Matter of fact, that drove the last Pac-12 deal. Them playing late, there's no other football, there's no other sports on. And those pay TV games late have a lot of value in the pay TV distribution system. And that's just something unique that the Pac-12 brings. So going back to this, to answer your question, I guess morale-wise, maybe, because now this has become a competitive thing, it would bring them down. I'm sure the media would be like, what's going to happen? But when it comes down to figuring out a business plan on a sports content portfolio basis, I view them as complementary much more than I view them as competitive. And I think it will not impact their long-term direction or short-term direction, probably, because they're probably going to do a short-term deal that much.
So you kind of just answered it there for me, Patrick. But the last thing for me as well is given all, and you've talked about, like, there's just so much chatter, and some of it's just complete BS, and some of it's actually, factual. Just kind of depends on where you're looking. But obviously, you've seen all the continuing expansion talk as far as the Pac-12 schools, and possibly a Big Ten invite one day, and all of that. But I guess the way to navigate that, if you're the Pac-12, that uncertainty about how all in your members are would just be the shorter grant of rights, right? Or the shorter deal, and then revisit it in 3, 4, 5 years, whenever.
It could be a solution to the problem. I struggle with how anything, even Notre Dame right now, is additive to the Big Ten.
Okay.
I'm sure Notre Dame is, right? But I need a lot of good business development people to help me figure that out. So they've already figured that out at the network, but everyone else is probably deluded. And that's why you've heard some Big Ten athletic directors kind of say, and presidents say, we're kind of done for now, despite the enthusiasm at the conference to do this. So I just feel like we're on pause with expansion. And to your point, grant rights for a short period of time may make sense here. There's more to come. I just don't think it's coming in the next couple of years. There's other priorities to include the college football playoff expansion, which is pretty clear. The presidents are saying, if you guys don't want us to get in there and mess up your business, you better make that happen. And you better make it happen soon. Like, that's the priority.
Gotcha.
So the Pac-12 and the Big 12 get some time to sort out the longer-term picture because of that. And you're right, a short-term grant of rights might be the way to go here.
It seems like that college football playoff getting expansion, which was, again, could be in the next couple of years or so, makes the value of the Big 12, no matter what anyone wants to think, or the Pac-12 or some other conferences and other TV deals, more valuable, because now they're a part of this conversation. It's not going to be just a couple of big super conferences.
Yeah, and that was the fear. I mean, look, technically, if the Big Ten and the SEC really wanted to do this, and they were prepared to be really aggressive and prepared to maybe take some punches to the face, they could do their own college football playoff and just invite people from outside those two conferences. And if they come, great. And if they don't, we don't care. Right? And they could do that. That's not going to happen. So that's great news for the Big 12 and the Pac-12, I think. And it's what's kind of stopped the realignment that was going to end up maybe destroying both conferences. So now, what do? You're kind of the dog caught the car. That I don't think is going to happen. So what do we do? And I think you see short-term maneuvers, new deal for the Pac-12, maybe extension for the Big 12, an attempt to kind of get past the strategic issues, to include the uncertainty of the marketplace right now, and then come back in a couple years with a real plan in hand for value creation for networks, for streamers, distributors, and then strike there with the real value. And as part of that, it could include some realignment. It could include some mergers. And because those two conferences have the most incentive to make that stuff figure out, they may beat some of the big conferences to the punch, because the big conferences, the Big Ten and the SEC, everything has to be additive. And they are at gigantic. They're fighting the law of large numbers right now. Diminishing marginal returns to every school they act. So if you think about where new value could be created, it's in the Big 12 and the Pac-12, but they've got to figure all of that out.
Patrick, thank you, man. Appreciate it. We had you on a long time. We love the knowledge, experience, and insight with what's going on. A lot of times there's a lot of speculation. Some fans want to say this or that, and I've seen them even argue with you and Bob about it, as if they've been at the table. Thank you so much.
Gotta love Twitter, man.
Yeah. No, seriously. Pat, thanks for 30 minutes of greatness. Thanks for your time.
All right. I appreciate it. Anytime, guys.
Yes, sir. All right, Pat Crakes, Crakes media consultant, former Fox executive on many things, just from the discussion out of Kansas City yesterday, but really for college football fans from coast to coast, which we try to do that as much as we can.
Yeah, I think we hit on, the only thing we didn't really touch on was just the ACC, but I think because of all of how he explained everything, like there's a little staying pat that's going to occur probably coming up, and there's a lot of stuff to digest there and kind of sort through, but I think it's very interesting to kind of recalibrate sort of where we are. Obviously we were right in the thick of all of the talk about expansion and realignment and everything the past 2 summers. I mean, ever since OU and Texas, announcement, or I guess that wasn't an announcement, since that story broke a couple summers ago, it's been, the term, I guess, that was used and probably overused at this point is the Wild Wild West, right? And I guess that still applies to college football in terms of NIL and all those things. But as far as the realignment piece, could we potentially be settling in for a while? It looks like we might be, but not a long while, as he said. It's, like a little window here, and then, I don't know, it sounds like in about 3-4 years, this thing could just, pop wide open once again and get pretty crazy. But, lot to sort through right there, but sounds like it's good news overall for the Big 12, and for the Pac-12, it's very much a big TBD on kind of what goes from here.
All right, Mickey Spagnola next. Craig's off the radar, and we're not done. Adam Rittenberg of ESPN on many things college football, and his thoughts about what was coming out of Kansas City and more. He has his mid-season, first-year head coaches rankings or report cards. Who got red ink and who got the nice A's and above. This is 365 Sports. PettyClinicLowT.com. The low T that I discussed, testosterone levels that drop when you get older, 1 out of every 3 or 4 men who deal with it. Dr. Petty has special interest in testosterone replacement therapy for low T, currently offering immediate same-day access for lab screening to help identify men who need help. What he will do, you contact him, go to PettyClinicLowT.com, or you can call them. He will then get you set up to have your blood drawn. He will take care of that for you. Then get the results, and if your testosterone levels are too low, he can help you increase them. He can put you in a program so you can get your testosterone level to the point and the number it needs to be or close to it. Low T is common. 1 out of every 3 or 4 men, often with fatigue, loss of energy, poor sexual performance, erectile dysfunction, loss of sexual interest, decreased muscle mass and strength, weight gain, excess body fat, depression, moodiness, poor sleep, insomnia, poor mental focus. Any of that, or some of that, or a combination of that, and of course it's not good. PettyClinicLowT.com.
In our logo and advertising, we say we are people that you can count on. What does that mean? It starts with providing a quality vehicle and quality service at a fair price. But it also means we do what we say we will do, and we treat people fairly with respect. It starts by hiring great people, good local folks who work hard with a caring attitude. Our employees are the real reason we are people that you can count on. Put us to the test and see for yourself that at Richard Carr Motors, we are people you can count on.
After my first car accident, I feared the biggest damage would be to my wallet. I expected a mountain of bills and a long, drawn-out process. But my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent was there when I needed her and helped me get back on my feet and in my car in no time. Instead of a hassle, I got reassurance and a quick recovery.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like First Free Checking, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Did you know that Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness is a partner of the City of Waco? Did you know that we are open to the public? Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness offers day passes to the public for only $10 a day, and we offer money-saving memberships. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness offers over 40 group exercise classes each week, including bar, yoga, boot camp, indoor cycling, and more. There are free weights, weight machines, TRX, rowing machines, stationary bikes, new treadmills, elliptical machines, and much more on the spacious weight room floor. Personal training available where you can be encouraged to grow. Sauna, whirlpool, tanning bed, and kids club. 17 tennis courts, 8 pickleball courts, youth and adult tennis and pickleball lessons. Waco's premier experience where you can help your mind, body, and soul. Visit our website at wacotennis.com. Call us at 254-753-7675 or visit us next to Hawaiian Falls on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
Hi, this is Paul Catalina. I recently got engaged to the love of my life, but the most important thing that I had to do before I popped the question was get that perfect ring. And I know nothing about rings. So I went to the wedding ring store, Boozer's Jewelers on Valley Mills Drive. I knew I needed a custom design, and that's exactly what they do. 9 out of 10 of their engagement rings are designed in-house. The entire process took less than a month, and they were great every step of the way. Great options on financing, excellent selection, and talented designers. My fiance and I get nonstop compliments on the ring. I only deserve credit for doing the smartest thing I could, walking into Boozer's and letting them work their magic. Your one-of-a-kind fiance deserves a one-of-a-kind ring, and that's what you get at Boozer's. Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store on Valley Mills Drive.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Prescott on the keeper, walks in, touchdown, Dallas.
It's time for our weekly segment with Mickey Spagnola of DallasCowboys.com. Brought to you by the First National Bank of Central Texas, with 5 locations to serve you.
Mickey Spagnola. Been covering the Cowboys for longer than he and I want to admit, because I was covering him back in those days as well. Joins us every Thursday on 365 Sports. Mickey, thank you very much. Detroit's offense puts up a lot of points. Their defense is a sieve. So is this in any way, even in the NFL of parity and you never know, is this kind of a get-right game?
Well, you would hope so. But again, the defense has got to do its part. You get Dak back. You got Michael Gallup back. The offensive line is playing much better than it did when Dak left off. So I think if you put those things together, you would think, okay, as soon as Dak gets his sea legs under him, who knows, it might take a possession or two. This offense should be pretty good. But the last thing you want to get involved in is a track meet with a team that, even though they got shut out in their last game, they're still averaging 28 points a game. So that would be my concern going into this game, not so much the Cowboys offense, but this defense that kind of let them down on that one drive at the end of the Eagles game doesn't do what they need to do against an offense that's been scoring a heck of a lot of points.
Mickey, you mentioned sea legs. Does that mean that we might see kind of the offense that we've seen the last couple weeks, at least until, like you said, Dak gets his weight under him, gets into the rhythm, because he certainly wasn't in it, and neither was anybody in that first week of the season. He hasn't played since then, and he didn't play that much in the preseason, so there's got to be some warm-up time for him.
Well, maybe a possession or two, I would think. I mean, I don't know that you want to see the offense that you saw the last 2 weeks, right? They scored 17 points and turned the ball over 3 times against the Eagles. They completed 10 of 16 passes for like 101, 102 yards in the week before when they were able to beat the Rams with 10 first downs, by the way. So, you would hope it's better than that against the number 32 defense in the league, and one that, like I said, given up a whole bunch of points. He's practiced well so far, but again, it's not game speed, right? And for a quarterback, it's not like a wide receiver coming back. He's got to get used to seeing everything. So all the confusion in front of them and picking up all the little things that you have to pick up, the blitzes and identify stuff, know where the the game clock is, things like that. And, you only get that when you play. So like I said, it might take them a couple series, maybe give them some easy throws. But I don't think you're going to see a dramatically different game plan. It may be executed better, and you would hope so over the last couple games when you can score all that many points.
Mickey, I know there's quite a bit of time until they'll see the Eagles again, but having seen them now up close and personal, just what were your general thoughts on Philly, knowing a rematch will be coming here in December?
I think the Cowboys have already got it written down that they're going to get to play them again. As a matter of fact, it was noticeable when they were walking off the field and they were going along the corridor, and there was a glass encased place where there were a bunch of Eagle fans in there, and Malik Hooker just kind of said, and I know they couldn't hear him, but he said, "We'll see you again," just like that. And so I think they were pretty upset with themselves the way they played. They had played well until that drive that they went 75 yards on 13 plays and basically ran the ball down their throats. But to that point, no matter that the Cowboys had turned the ball over 3 times, they had held them to 20 points. You would take that, right?
Oh, yeah.
And playing at their place, a night game. But there was that one drive that they just couldn't solve. And I think they have remembered it this week, by the way, and will remember it going forward. They can play with that team, just can't turn the ball over 3 times. And, at least 2 of them were on the Cowboys. The other one was a heck of an interception. But the last one, when they almost pulled within, 26-24, it's a touchdown if Cooper Rush doesn't get hit while he was trying to throw the ball deep to CeeDee Lamb.
How do you like what you saw from Jake, or what do you like? And it seemed like a pretty good player, Jake Ferguson, coming in because Dalton Schultz not available.
Actually, both of those guys, David, not only Ferguson, but Peyton Hendershot made a couple really nice acrobatic catches. Those guys with Schultz a little bit dinged up have gotten some experience you might have not thought that those guys would have got. So Schultz looks like he's back this week. Well, we thought he was back last week, right? Because on the injury report, they had listed him as full and basically good to go. Well, he's listed as full again, so they're hoping he's good to go. I saw in practice today he was wearing a knee brace on his right knee where he sprained the PCL ligament. And we'll see where that one goes. But, yeah, those guys have done a nice job. And if you can get Schultz out there, Dak out there, Michael Gallup out there, maybe this offense gets back to where you had hoped it would have been when they got all the pieces back together.
Mickey, does the performance of Ferguson and Hendershot change the Cowboys' plans for their franchise player, Dalton Schultz, in the offseason maybe?
Well, we'll see. I mean, it's got to continue, right?
Yeah.
Look, they wanted him back. They wanted him to sign a long-term deal. They just couldn't get together on what Schultz and his people thought his value was when they were comparing it to those other tight ends that got huge contracts. And their contracts were averaging more a year than what the Cowboys paid Schultz as a franchise tight end. So it could, how much do you want to pay for a tight end if you got 2 young guys that are starting, step up? But we got to see. It's only been 6 games. So, and we got to see, again, what he wants, because that's what this came down to, right? It wasn't the Cowboys didn't want him. They obviously wanted him to pay $11 million on a 1-year deal where you couldn't prorate any signing bonus or anything. So that'll be one we'll keep an eye on going forward.
Mickey, Mike McCarthy is the head coach of the Cowboys. I mean, we know that he's going to take heat, sometimes deservedly so, sometimes self-inflicted decisions, whatever. How much of an influence has he had, or did he have, during the Cooper Rush era when Dak went down?
Oh, I think as much influence as he normally has. I think, there's this perception out there that Kellen Moore is an independent contractor. They meet Monday and Tuesday and come up with a game plan. Now, Kellen's calling the plays, but they've got a perception of what they want to do as long as the game's going the way it's supposed to go. So I think he's had an influence from the start, knowing, look, if you know his background, and I know everybody thinks the Packers just slung the ball around all the time with Aaron Rodgers, but he likes a running game. He likes playing with either two tight ends or a fullback out there and one tight end. That's kind of what his offense was. He's a little more old school than everybody thinks he is. And so I don't know if in the off season he had to pull it back, but he knew that with the turnover they had on offense, knowing that Michael Gallup wasn't going to be there for the beginning of the season, that CeeDee Lamb was going to have to work his way into being the number one receiver, and having a very young offensive line and having to start a raw rookie at left tackle, that they were going to have to lean on their defense. And so I think that meant that, okay, we got to be able to run the ball, control the clock until the offense catches up. It's starting to catch up because the offensive line is playing better. I don't think anybody realized how little experience they were going to have on that offensive line once Tyron Smith went out. Zach Martin is the only guy starting on that front five that was in more than just his third year in the league. So I think once they felt the offensive line catches up, then this offense can get back to maybe what they envisioned even last year.
Mickey, the defense has been the focus of the team, and McCarthy even said that, though. Like you said that early in the year, but has it even surpassed what they thought that they were going to do, like as players, that they were going to be this dominant?
No, I think that they were expecting the second year in Dan Quinn's system, that they not only did the players have a better idea of what was expected of them, but also they had a better idea of what the players were capable of doing. And, Dan Quinn spoke about it even before the season started. Like last year, he was just figuring out what everybody's capable of doing, and he would try to push it and then find out, okay, that guy can't do that, then we're not playing that in our defense. So I think he's got a better idea of his talent. They got a better idea of his system. And they're a little bit more experienced. They were playing a lot of young guys last year. I think we forget that what Trayvon Diggs did last year. He was only in his second year in the league. Oso Digizua was a rookie starting basically with Gallimore out. They didn't have Gallimore. He didn't play until the end of the season. And they were going to play Sam Williams, second-round draft choice. Well, we see as the season's going along, he's starting to show up, right? And everybody was, up in arms because they lost Randy Gregory. Well, Randy Gregory's on IR right now. Not saying that he would have got hurt if he was here, but availability is availability. And Dorrance Armstrong, it's like, okay, this guy's been a backup, but you know what? He's one of their leaders in sacks this year. So again, I think guys, they put this together, and the way they have, it's like, okay, this isn't bad. But again, they got to do a better job stopping the run, because that's what Detroit wants to do. That's what they've been doing. And like I said, I know they got shut out by the Patriots, but they're still averaging 151 yards rushing a game. And we saw a prime example in that Eagles game, that you cannot give up 138 yards rushing and think you're going to win the game.
Mickey, as always, buddy, thank you so much. Mickey Spagnola, Thursdays on the Cowboys, and sometimes, of course, we dive into NFL notes as well from DallasCowboys.com. We have a lot to get to. Appreciate all of you in the chat room. I've been on the text line as well, 254-339-1122, and this is 365 Sports. Alan Samuels, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat, Loop 340, and east of 84 in Waco. In fact, I'm going to check. I checked with Ted Teague to see if the possibility how that blood drive went today. I'm sure it went really, really well. Carter Blood Care does an incredible job, and they put that on at the dealership at Loop 340 and east of 84 in Waco. Alan Samuels, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat, with an amazing you look at a lot of dealerships when you drive by them, wherever you might be, and you want to see it full for everybody. But some aren't, and there's still the battle a little bit of distribution. Alan Samuels, well, they are right there, filled up. They have their SUVs, they have the Ram trucks, they have Jeep, the Jeep model and brands, which is fantastic. And they also have a very nice chunk of pre-owned cars, which is also something that's kind of hard to find. That's the one I bought. Not the only one, but that's what I bought. Looking around for a new car back in, 2020? Looked around the corner. I said, what is that car? I love the look of it. I didn't even know what it was. It ended up being a Ford Explorer, and I've loved driving it since the summer of 2020 all the way through right now. And hopefully for quite some time. The process was fantastic. AJ was my client manager who worked with me, knowing what I wanted, knowing my budget, and he gave me what I needed, and it's been fantastic. You could experience the same thing. Go by the dealership, ask for a client manager, go online, Alan Samuels, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat, Loop 340 and east of 84 in Waco.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby is a homegrown, locally owned pizza place that's out of this world. Everything from the dough, the sauce, the sausage topping is made fresh in-house. Not to mention the amazing pizza pillows, the chicken wings are to die for. Try the Sikkim sauce, chili cheese fries or tots, plus great specials on food and drink every single day. Shorty's is also the perfect spot to watch the game with your friends. Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby. Tell them Paul sent you by.
We're fighting hard at Pickup Outfitters in our battle to end truck nudity. But it's not just about putting an outfit on a naked truck, it's about making sure you have the very best customer service. So we offer the Pickup Outfitters Lifetime Installation Guarantee. Over time, sometimes your outfit needs a little tune-up, maybe some tightening, adjusting, whatever. If you outfitted your truck at Pickup Outfitters, that tune-up is absolutely no charge for the remainder of the time you own that truck. We also offer free warranty assistance. If for any reason you need to use your warranty, you just bring it back to us and we take care of it. It just makes sense. I mean, operating without a promise like that would be like offering customer service in the nude. And if you've seen our staff, trust me, you don't want that. So do your part to end truck nudity by outfitting your truck, Jeep, SUV, or van at Pickup Outfitters, 220 Lake Air Drive in Waco, where we promise to serve you fully clothed. Check out our website, createacommotion.com.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
TFNB Your Bank for Life is the official local bank of Baylor Athletics. Find out why more Central Texas are making TFNB their bank for life. Sign up for our Edge checking and savings accounts to earn interest or cash back. With 5 convenient locations and an award-winning mobile app, banking has never been easier. TFNB, your bank for life. Member FDIC.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for Craig Smoak's Off the Radar. Brought to you by Pickup Outfitters. Since 1997, we've been outfitting trucks, SUVs, and vans at 220 Lake Air Drive or createacommotion.com.
All right, back here on 365 Sports, and time for Off the Radar, which, be honest with you, a little caught off guard by that. I don't have a ton that already accumulated, but we can roll with it, and I'll be mindful to put alarms in my phone again. But, a lot going on in the world of sports, especially college football right now. I'm interested to see, kind of how this Big 12 timeline shakes out. But it was very interesting that as we were talking to Patrick Crakes, we were getting intel from, or we weren't getting intel from Andrew Marchand, but I was looking around on Twitter, and Andrew Marchand, who's the big New York Post media guru at this point, he had, I guess, retweeted or reposted a segment of the podcast he was doing that he was talking about the Big 12's new TV deal and talking about how the number they were looking for is like $400 million. And then after he had posted that, just a few minutes later, he posted sports media news incoming in like the next few minutes. So I thought, like, wow, what tremendous timing. He's teasing they're about to make a Big 12 announcement as we get done with Patrick Crakes. Well, it turns out it had nothing to do with the Big 12's media deal. As fun as that would have been to slide in from Patrick's conversation to just announcing what it was going to be. Instead, it has to do with the college basketball world and the fact that former Villanova head coach and national champion Jay Wright will be returning to the Final Four as a broadcaster. He'll be in studio for CBS and Turner Sports. He'll also call regular season games and do some studio work for CBS as well. So if you're a Jay Wright fan, that's welcome news, I suppose, that you'll be still seeing him.
I am.
Yeah, no, I am too. Yeah, that's good. It's just that I did what we're all guilty of sometimes, is like hyping things up in our heads. And I thought, oh, well, just the timing has got to be the Big 12 deal is getting announced. And as Jay Wright's coming back to do more basketball coverage, so that's great. But I'm waiting for the Big 12 deal.
I bet you he'll be good with that. He's really he's really
been
smooth.
on a few of those.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's done this kind of work.
I think he is fantastic.
Yeah.
I like, he's got a great voice. He's got a great look, obviously. He's got the rings. He's got the resume. And he seems to be a very on-air friendly guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I've enjoyed what I have seen from him. I enjoyed him as a head coach. So, yeah, he's going to be back on your TV screens. He was apparently getting talked to or getting, negotiating with both ESPN and Fox Sports, but ended up deciding, like, hey, I want to call March Madness. So that's where his decision came to play, to sign with CBS. So good for him. And he's had a nice little media carve-out ever since retiring after winning a couple of titles there with Villanova and being inducted into the Hall of Fame last year. Baseball-wise, later on tonight, we've got ALCS game number 2, the Yankees and the Astros down in Houston. And Houston, the winners in game number 1. Big-time response on my Twitter timeline, as it is filled with Astros fans, especially being here from the state of Texas. But the Astros win 4-2 and get that first win over the Yankees. Justin Verlander, 1-0 now in the ALCS. Last night as well, NLCS game number 2. Is there a game ahead? You had the Padres defeating the Phillies 8-5. So San Diego at home able to even that series. So Padres tied up at 1 last night. Astros go up 1 last night, and now the Astros still at home, of course. We'll look to Framber Valdez to take on Luis Severino and hopefully get, for Houston fans, a 2-0 series lead.
Verlander had 11 strikeouts. He was kind of fading a little bit. Of course, he's 50.
He's 707 years old.
He's amazing.
He really is.
He really is amazing.
Yeah.
But he was hard to hit yesterday, and a great start to the series win. If you're going to win a series when you're not the home team for more of the games, you got to steal one early. That doesn't mean you can't come from behind on that. But they had a chance. They didn't do it. Astros were dominant.
Yeah, I think it would have been ideal for the Yankees to get Garrett Cole in game one, which they obviously couldn't do because he was pitched. They had the rain delays and all the, postponements and all that stuff. But we'll see what happens down the line. I don't think that the Yankees are just going to go quietly. They were really, really great in the early part of the year. In the middle part of the year, they started to drag a little bit. They picked up a little bit. The Astros have just been the best team in the American League for most of the year.
Yeah.
Except for April,
As a Rangers fan, I'm not like somebody that hates the Astros, but it has really made it hard for me to enjoy baseball as much. Even though I don't hate them. Like I'd much rather see them win than the Yankees or whatever, but it's really not an appealing series for me in any way.
But it's hard to see someone in your division do so well.
Yeah.
And then you're wondering, why isn't my team doing that?
Rangers had their chance. They had their run. 2010, 11, 12, 13, 14 or whatever. Yeah. They didn't come away with one, which will always break my heart. But they had that. This is a 6-year run for the Astros. Longer than that, but for the last 6 years, if they win this series, to be in the World Series.
Like right now, if you're in either the AL or NL Central as a fan, you'd be like, well, at least we all suck.
Yeah.
We're not in it.
Yeah, no.
Is that the Guardians in them?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's an interesting series. We'll see more of Astros and Yankees tonight, but a good first win there for the Astros. And, yeah, I'm a little bit envious of just how successful for the stretched out period of time they have been. And I know there's, for many people out there, the asterisks, the trash cans, and all of that. But, I mean, pre that and post that now, they're proving like, hey, we're still out here, still doing the same exact thing we were doing, basically. So I give them a lot of credit for that. We did not mention it at all yesterday, and I don't imagine that we'll talk about it really all that in depth much because we just don't really do that on this show. But the NBA regular season's underway. Did you guys notice that?
I did. Yeah. I didn't watch any of it. I know that last night the Mavericks were playing a team that they knocked out, the Suns.
And, totally choked it away. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, but NBA season did get underway here, and tonight we'll have the TNT doubleheader. That'll be your only games as far as this evening goes. Got the Bucks at the 76ers beginning at 6:30 on TNT. That'll be followed by the Battle of Los Angeles, the Clippers at the Lakers. That'll be a 9 p.m. start time on TNT. And, I'm expecting the Mavericks to be pretty good this year. I certainly think that, there was some stuff to like about last night, but just a little bit of a fumble of the bag by Jason Kidd. And, the Suns, credit to them for having, the resiliency to come back and win that game. But it certainly looked like the Mavs were well on their way to a 1-0 series lead. And just a couple of NFL notes here, as we have not heard an update in a while on Denzel Mims and his status with the New York Jets as far as just, trading and or wanting to be traded. I guess that was just about a month or two ago. And them basically, responding like, no, we're not going to do that. Robert Saleh had a big, long answer in an interview I was reading right after that Mims had become public with his declaration that they basically shot it down, although leaving the door open for if anybody's interested enough, like, we'll certainly listen. Well, nothing's obviously happened on that front. But now you got Elijah Moore, Jets wide receiver. He's excused from practice. Apparently he's been incredibly frustrated over his lack of involvement, so he got excused from practice today. And now there's growing speculation, according to ESPN, about his status with the team. Robert Saleh called it a personal day due to a family issue. Meanwhile, unnamed sources calling it more of a football-related decision, and apparently he's expressed his unhappiness and is looking to be traded. So we will see if Elijah Moore, or Denzel Mims, or what the Jets end up doing as far as their disgruntled wide receiver core.
Yeah, I saw a good analysis of this. I can't remember. It was from a Packers writer, and because the Packers right now, all their fans are asking every Packers writer, like, who can we trade? Is it Chase Claypool? Is it Elijah Moore? Can they get Odell Beckham? You got to get something on that offense. And he said what the Jets' problem is here is that they signed Corey Davis and drafted Elijah Moore and drafted Garrett Wilson the next year. So they have this kind of embarrassment of riches or at this one position to help their new quarterback, but they didn't really have a plan for any of them. And we're just going to, throw it to the wall and see how it sticks. And now you have Elijah Moore, who had one target last week and, is just in his second year, right? He's a young guy, so he might have some value, and he's disgruntled, and they're trying to figure that out. And Zach Wilson's just back after a couple weeks of being hurt, so they don't even really know what their offense is going to be. And now it's turning into a run-first offense with Breece Hall, and Michael Carter, the backup, is really good too. So they don't know what they're going to be. So I'm curious to see what happens. Denzel Mims and Cam Akers can maybe go back to the same team as disgruntled players.
Yeah, potentially. But meanwhile, they're second in the AFC East, won a couple in a row, beat a down Steelers team, and then beat obviously a Dolphins team that's very much in flux right now after kind of just...
And the Packers.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, and the Packers as well. Yeah. But, so we'll see on the Jets front as they have a growing room of disgruntled wide receivers. But briefly mention Odell Beckham there, who obviously is still out on the free agent market. And, it seems like every team who's in need of a wide receiver is like, can we possibly get Odell Beckham? And, there's been a lot of talk about him returning to the Rams at some point. But the rumor that got stirred up a little bit further, thanks to the Kelsey brothers, Jason and Travis Kelce doing their podcast. I don't know if you've seen that they've got a podcast together.
It's pretty funny.
Yeah,
it's a lot of naughty language.
Yeah,
well, I like it.
They're adults, but they have fun. The two brothers, and there was a clip that they put out there that had Travis Kelce talking about the fact that he got ringed up by the Chiefs, like, hey, we want to reorganize or restructure your contract. And he's like, okay, like that's money right away for me, basically, is his response. Is like, you know how that works, that you restructure your contract, you're basically going to get a fat lump sum of like a bonus right away. So he's like, hell yeah, I'll do that. And it eventually led into him also going, well, why would you need me to do that? And so he and his brother go back and forth on the Odell Beckham possibility. And they stirred the pot there and left the door very much wide open for that potentially his restructuring to be a move that leads to the Chiefs eventually adding Odell Beckham Jr. That's not happened just yet, but that is, now being, even further heavily speculated.
Yeah, I would love it if somebody called me up as a player like, hey, you know that boat you've been thinking about?
Yeah.
Done deal.
Yeah.
Please, we need to sign another player.
Yeah, no, that's a good gig right there, is to the restructure contract deal and get your money right away. Meanwhile, Mac Jones is expected to return for the Patriots as they get ready to take on the Chicago Bears on Monday Night Football. The Bears on Monday Night Football, huh? Chicago is a big city, but
did I hear what Pat was saying about the Thursday Night Football? The numbers are dropping.
Well, because the games are getting
the
worse.
Bears and Commanders will drop anything.
Oh my gosh,
including you, like to the ground, falling asleep.
The broadcast is fine. It's a little bit different, it feels like, but maybe that's in my head because I know I'm watching a streaming app instead of watching like ABC or ESPN or NBC or whoever else. It's fine. Like I said, I don't love it, the broadcast, but yeah, you got to have something to attract me to it. I'm not just going to turn on the NFL to turn. Like I don't gamble heavy. I don't do fantasy football. So for me as a football fan, like give me a product I want to watch, because you're not going to pull me in by like if Justin Fields going to throw over under 2 interceptions, like that's not pulling me in, and maybe I'm not their audience anymore. That's entirely possible. But yeah, we got to have better matchups if we're trying to really promote this thing.
Yeah, I think that's probably something that Amazon's going to probably throw out there. We're paying $1 billion a year for this one game a week, and maybe I guess a Black Friday game coming. We talked about that the other day. But even for fantasy football players, though, if you've got the Commanders and Bears as the matchup, we on our show that we do every week, we do a DraftKings Thursday night showdown lineup where you draft 6 players. It's just all flex players, and that it was the longest time we've ever spent doing it because it was like, well, how are we going to win this? How do you win any money doing this thing? Trying to figure out like what players from each of your teams. We drafted a kicker and a defense. And you never do that, unless you're like one of these guys who puts in 700 entries because you have the money to lose. But yeah, it was ridiculous. It was hard.
Yep. So Monday Night Football coming up, Patriots and Bears. Mac Jones is expected to be available to play, and of course he will be the starter. Bailey Zappi, reigning Earl Campbell Tyler Rose Award winner from Western Kentucky and a Victoria, Texas native. He's been terrific in his time replacing Mac Jones. So be kind of interesting. How the backup quarterback thing works in the NFL, especially. Like now he's going to be a much more talked about player moving forward because of this little stint than he ever was before. So good for him, but Mac Jones is going to be the starter when he comes back.
I've been impressed with Bailey Zappi, and like the guy, it shouldn't be a surprise that a guy who threw the ball like as much as he did over his career at Houston Baptist and at Western Kentucky was running that offense is maybe just a little bit more adept, starting out than a lot of the guys at making reads. He's been fun to watch. We had him on the show. He was great after he won the award. He was great. And really I think he's a guy who can probably start in the league.
Yeah, so we'll see with him, but it will be Mac Jones coming up on Monday night. As far as tonight goes, though, we're talking about Amazon football. You've got the Saints and the Cardinals. Any sort of a preview or anything enticing as far as that one goes for you, Saints and Cardinals?
Saints get the Cardinals get Hopkins back, right?
Yeah, Hop's back and released a video like, don't call it a comeback. Dude, you were suspended for PEDs.
Yeah.
Like, the things that they hype up in sports sometimes, like, it's like he's coming back and it's like, from what? Never mind that, but he's back.
Yeah, Deshaun Watson better not do the same thing.
Exactly, dude.
Exactly. But yeah, Hop's back, so that's going to be interesting for that offense because they just lost Marquise Brown. I don't know how much Robbie Anderson will figure in this week. They just traded for him. It's interesting. I don't know who's going to play quarterback for the Saints tonight, so that's kind of intriguing.
Taysom Hill.
They've got a bunch of guys injured though. The Saints do, but Olave's back, so we'll see.
Looks like it'll be Andy Dalton.
Yeah.
Andy Dalton will get to start tonight. Against the Cardinals tonight. So he'll be replacing your boy Jameis, who's dinged up. But it looks like it'll be Andy Dalton. So got that tonight. Got a full schedule as far as the NBA TNT doubleheader, and you've also got the baseball playoff game. So pretty
Yankees
stacked
and
night.
Astros.
Pretty stacked night in the world of sports with Amazon Thursday night, Yankees Astros, TNT doubleheader. Capped off by the Battle of Los Angeles. And then also tonight, you mentioned it earlier, but a couple college football games as well to throw in the mix. Virginia at Georgia Tech, 6:30 ESPN. Troy at South Alabama, 6:30 ESPNU. Those are a few things off the radar.
Thank you, Craig. Also, high school football, Texas style. Allen, the biggest school in the state of Texas. They've been, for them, not quite elite, but they're still really good against Geyer out of Denton. A fantastic game. I think it's a 6:30 kickoff on ESPN2. That is tonight. This is 365 Sports. Ideal MRI in the Central Texas marketplace. Premium quality MRIs, convenient, affordable, and that's ideal. On average, an MRI can cost $1,100, which means some are less and some are much more. At Ideal MRI, every single time, it never changes unless it goes down. $497 or less every single time. Oh, they've got other ways for you to go online and look at what they do, idealmri.com, to maybe give you some ideas. All of the reviews, 5 stars. Getting an MRI can be time-consuming and expensive, spending hours. And maybe you have at an imaging center, you can wait up to months just to find out what it was that you were going to be able to, what the appointment was going to be. And then maybe even a longer time to get the results back. Not anymore. You put yourself first, and so does Ideal MRI. They provide convenient, luxurious experience, state-of-the-art technology, MRI suite. You soon will find out your results, and sometimes that day, that evening, even if it was just 2 or 3 hours when you had your MRI. Subspecialists, board-certified doctors, Dr. Rob Maxey, great partners. IdealMRI.com in the Central Texas marketplace off I-35 in Waco.
During Ram Power Days at Allen Samuels, our great selection of new cars and trucks come with amazing deals and competitive financing that makes you ask, why shop anywhere else? The new 2022 Ram trucks are designed to be durable, functional, and stylish. These legendary, award-winning trucks give you that first-class feel, luxurious leather trim seating options, exceptional legroom and storage, plus surround view camera options you'd expect from a premium truck. Come see our selection today or browse online at AllenSamuelsDCJ.com.
Three Nations Brewing Company has 16 different beers on draft with a new beer every Friday. It also offers 2 air-conditioned tap rooms, a large indoor beer hall, a second-floor mezzanine offering a great overview of the brewing company and equipment and patio where you can relax under the shade. Plus, you can now experience the new Three Nations Beer Garden Grill on our shaded patio. Grab a cold beer and enjoy a bite from our freshly prepared and delicious menu. Street tacos, quesadillas, freshly cooked burgers and dogs, and veggie burgers too. Nachos and so much more, all prepared and cooked on site. So come visit the award-winning Three Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injuries, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
They might go for it, and they do. 4th down and 5. Chapin and Baylor. His throw for Baldwin has a first down across the 40 and then some. Oh, the speed! 70 yards! Sparks off his shoes for Monterey Baldwin.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Ben Erlinson, who'll navigate you through today's financial climate. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
ESPN.com college football writer Adam Rittenberg with us, 365 Sports, as we head into another weekend. Even a game last night with Appalachian State winning. Baylor and Kansas this week, but one of the big games in the Big 12, Oklahoma State at home against Texas. And Adam, you just had it, the news that Brandon Evers is deciding to give up his the rest of his season to prepare for the NFL draft.
You know, it is, although this is injury related. And, you know, he was obviously, it started last week. He was listed as a starter on this week's depth chart for the Texas game, had made 26 career starts and played in more than 50 games for the Pokes. And so, you know, unfortunately, you have injuries sometimes that, you know, need to be shut down if you intend to, you know, play football beyond the college level. I think that's what's going on in this situation. So certainly unfortunate, but one of the more deeper units on the team, as you guys know, down in Waco, we saw in that game, they can really rotate a lot of players in and out. So, yeah, definitely unfortunate that his career ends this way, but Oklahoma State will certainly move forward with a pretty good crew of defensive linemen.
Yeah, obviously Texas in Stillwater this weekend. What was your thought about Brett Yormark kind of throwing out some nuggets again about the possibility the Big 12 might just extend and never even reach the open market, which, of course, is a long time from now?
Yeah, I think that it certainly, it's illuminating, but I spoke to some folks last week that told me that there was a likelihood the Big 12 would get done with its deal before the Pac-12, which certainly would indicate a moving forward with the current partners. If you're going to go on the open market, then you need to let that play out. And it doesn't seem like Yormark is interested in doing that. So he can put together a strong deal. I know he's very confident. He has shown confidence pretty much since the moment he took over the job there with the Big 12. I think it's going to be fascinating to see how this thing turns out from a parameter standpoint with the 14 teams eventually, and obviously how that will compare to the Pac-12 deal whenever that one gets done.
Do you think that if the Big 12, and we have, in fact, a media consultant on, we've had a couple of them, Bob Thompson and also Patrick Crakes, and Bob kind of sensed that this would be a little bit interesting if they actually, the Big 12, gets theirs done before the Pac-12. Do you think that will have any impact on the Pac-12?
Not necessarily. It seems like Fox, for example, would be much likelier to do a stronger partnership with the Big 12 than the Pac-12. And, the Pac-12 certainly would look to try to continue with an ESPN partnership of some sort, especially with that late time zone window, which is still, sort of theirs to own, the 10:30 Eastern, 7:30 local kickoff. So I don't know if necessarily it makes a huge difference because they were talking to different partners. The Pac-12, I think, is more interested in seeing, what it could work out with an Amazon, perhaps other partners, whereas the Big 12, if they do this quickly, would be locked into the current partners, obviously Fox and ESPN.
Do you think that we've seen, obviously, some FCS or non-Power Fives, and we've seen probably more parity in college football, or at least it appears that way, Adam, this season. Do you feel like the timing's perfect as we look at the possibility that not the possibility, there will be college football playoff expansions, it's a matter of when?
Well, yeah, absolutely. It's going to happen, sooner than I think we thought a few months ago, which is great. And how the composition of those fields is in the future is going to be fascinating, Smokey, because right now the whole goal is to make the playoff. And in some ways, having a deep league works against you if you're the wrong league. So, for example, the Pac-12, everybody rips on the Pac-12. The Pac-12 has actually been a fairly deep league over the last few years. They just haven't had enough teams in the top four, and so they get criticized for that. In the 12-team playoff, I think that they're positioned to do quite well. Same with the Big 12. And then you look this year at the Big 10, you have a clear top group of Ohio State and Michigan, and then Penn State, as we saw last week, is a few notches below them. But the Big 10 in a 4-team playoff is positioned very well. In a 12-team playoff, probably only getting 2 teams in. So I think the entire conversation about conferences and how strong or weak or whatever they are changes significantly once you go from 4 to 12, because making the playoff in the 4-team system doesn't necessarily mean that you're a great conference.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it also gives hope to others that just have no hope, even though Cincinnati made the run last year. And it also, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it also taps the brakes on what we kind of heard back when it was Texas OU last July and then USC, UCLA this past summer, that there was going to eventually, or the possibility that just 2 conferences play for the national championship, which I could never imagine unless they had 20-plus teams or so. But doesn't it kind of tap the brakes on that idea for now?
Well, for now, but keep in mind that I think there's motivation, certainly in the Big Ten Commissioner's office, to add more. I don't know if that's shared at this point by the presidents and the ADs in that conference, but I don't think Kevin Warren is going to just sit there if there's an opportunity to add more teams. The other factor here is that you have a long-term grant of rights in the ACC that's very difficult to break at this point, but will be hard to secure in the future because there's going to be teams in that league that are going to want to join the SEC or join the Big Ten if that's an option. So, yes, for now, it's quiet. In the future, I think we're still looking at 2 super leagues.
We brought this up yesterday, and again, back to the Big 12 and whatever they do here pretty soon, if in fact that does happen. If you're a member of the Pac-12 that's a little bit wobbly, and I'm not saying that there is anybody because I don't want that, that's unfair, but maybe there is, and the Big 12 signs a pretty good deal, and the Pac-12 keeps lingering, do you feel like there might be a few that start to kind of wander with their ideas or maybe concerns about the future and they look back towards the Big 12 or not?
It's absolutely possible, but I still think that the preference, and you're really talking about the Arizona schools and Utah and Colorado, I think the preference for those schools is to stay in the Pac-12.
Right.
And so if they believe that the Pac-12 is viable with Washington and Oregon remaining, then they're going to stay put. As soon as Washington and Oregon look to move off, if that opportunity is there in the future, then certainly that would be the end for the conference, and I think those schools would move to the Big 12. But I don't sense that there's this burning desire, certainly with the Arizona schools. Maybe there could be a little bit more with Utah and Colorado to move to the Big 12, but eventually that could be the destination for all 4.
All right, I also contacted you because there's an article on ESPN.com. Great stuff. I love these rankings as the year goes on and midway, whatever. But your rankings of first-year coaches, and there's 29, and it seems like we're, this is pretty much the way it is. There's always this I guess, turnover. Let's go to the bottom first. These are 3 big boy programs: Notre Dame, Oklahoma, and Miami, with Freeman, Venables, and Cristobal. And you're obviously not high on them, and there's reason why.
I'm not. Smokey, I teach a class. I teach classes here at DePaul University in Chicago, and I've never given out so many D's in my life after this first half. And again, there's time to turn it around, but all 3 of those coaches, inherited some rosters with some talent. Honestly, you look at Marcus Freeman was there last year with Notre Dame. They were on the cusp of making the college football playoff, and they didn't lose everybody. And for them to be losing to Stanford and losing to Marshall is quite troubling. They've essentially played 2 good games all season. Mario Cristobal, all the hype about him coming to Miami, it looks pretty similar. And they got blown out by a Middle Tennessee team that isn't very good. So that's why that grade is where it is. And then Brent Venables, certainly I kind of thought about that one. They're still have a winning record. They looked a little bit better last week against Kansas, but he is presiding over one of the all-time great programs that went through a 2-week stretch that was just an absolute nightmare of historic proportions, and the losses to TCU and then especially to their rival Texas, the 49-0 game. And so hard to give Coach Venables a good grade at this point when the defense in particular, his specialty, looks like a mess. Even last week, 42 points to a Kansas team that was playing a backup quarterback in Jason Bean. So, a lot of work to do. It's certainly time to improve those grades, but right now it certainly hasn't been good for those 2 or those 3, and quite a few other Power 5 coaches are struggling. Overall, there's been some really good first-year performances. Sonny Dykes at the very top of that list at TCU, but there's been some really lousy ones as well. Still time to turn it around, though.
Yeah, Napier, C- had a nice win early, but they've kind of settled back to reality. The one that it's a B-, but it looked like a rocky start for Brian Kelly, the loss to FSU and a few things. But you have him at B-. It seems like, you look up and, hey, and maybe they knock off somebody or 2, and I think they're 5-2, and you have them at a B-, and I would think maybe, a month ago that would have been much lower.
It would have. And, they're favored against Ole Miss this weekend, even though Ole Miss is in the top 10. And so that would be another feather in the cap for Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly just either is the luckiest coach in the world. He just knows how to win. He's just one of these guys. You saw it at Notre Dame that he just didn't lose to a lot of teams that he shouldn't have lost to. And Florida State certainly was one of those. Now, everything kind of went wrong for them in that game. Certainly on special teams, it was an absolute mess. But they make that extra point at the end. They go to overtime with the momentum. Maybe they win that game. Now, they also rallied from 17-0 down to beat Auburn. So they probably are where they are. But it was hard to give him anything worse than a B-, especially coming off of the win at Florida, which I thought was their best win of the season, especially on offense. Jaden Daniels looked really good. They ran the ball, getting more of their receivers involved in that matchup on the road. So, LSU has a chance. I don't think anyone thought that they would win the SEC this year or even go, 11-1. But they have a chance to I think, finish maybe 9-3, have a solid first season. And then in the future, we know how Brian Kelly is going to be judged. I can give him whatever grade I want, but if he doesn't win a national championship, at LSU, he'll be looked at as a failure because the 3 previous coaches won national titles, and I'd argue that Brian Kelly is better than at least one or 2 of them. I think Saban's in his own category, but that's how he'll ultimately be judged. We just knew this season wasn't going to lead in that result.
Riley and USC losing in a last-second gutty call by Utah going for 2. You mentioned Sonny Dykes and what he's done. What a great story. DeBoer at Washington at A-. Joey McGuire, former Baylor assistant, and right now you have him at B+. And 3-3, they've gone through a really tough schedule. They still have much more to come. West Virginia this week, Baylor, which will be interesting a week from Saturday. And you know what? He inherited maybe more than people thought because it was a coaching change. But they're teetering right now, and it looks like I think in the end they're going to be a bowl team and maybe better.
Right, and that was one of the more interesting ones, Smokey, to look at Joey, because, 3-3 is not that great of a record, but then you look at what they've done. All of their FBS games have been against teams that were ranked at the time that they played them. So Houston was ranked. Obviously, Texas was ranked when they beat them, and then obviously the other Big 12 games as well, and they've been competitive. Even with a quarterback change in the Oklahoma State game, they really pushed Oklahoma State on the road, gave them all they could handle in Stillwater. And so, in the Big 12, as you know, the schedule never really softens up, but you look at their second half schedule, doesn't seem to be as daunting as the first half schedule. So I'd be surprised if they don't make a bowl game. I'd even be a little surprised if they don't get to 7 wins. But their schedule, certainly with NC State thrown in there on the road, really no favors done for Joey in year one. He's doing a nice job creating some excitement and enthusiasm in Lubbock.
Adam, thank you, man. We appreciate you always. Great work at ESPN.com. Adam Rittenberg, you need to go on and look at that midseason coaches report card. It's fantastic. Adam Rittenberg on 365 Sports. Thanks to Adam very much. We'll have Paul's Top 5 around the corner. We're not done. We've got a lot to get to on this Thursday evening, a lot of information. Thanks again to all of our guests as always. But we have a super chat, Paul.
Yes, we do. From Hayden. Hold on, I've got it right here. Nope, that's not the one.
What do you think we were going to?
No, I clicked on the wrong document. Craig, do you think if TCU wins out, they will make the CFP? Most don't think they will because the committee only wants SEC teams.
Yeah, I think that whoever you're seeing that opinion from, you need to go ahead and mute on Twitter. That's not going to happen. If TCU's undefeated, they're in the college football playoff. I don't think there's any question whatsoever about that. There will be little to no argument to keep them out of the college football playoff. Yeah, not a chance that they would be left out. And by the way, you look at their schedule right now. They had the win over Oklahoma State last week. Now they get number 17 K-State coming up. I mean, potentially back-to-back big wins there for them. And, still some tough sledding to go. Like, I don't think it's going to be easy against Texas necessarily, and I definitely think that, West Virginia and Morgantown could get interesting just because you'll, be flying high at that point, and who knows. But I feel like they've knocked down, a lot of the big challenges in front of them. I mean, so, I feel good about where the Frogs are, but if they went out absolutely, positively, without a shadow of a doubt, if they're unbeaten, they're in the college football playoff. I don't care how many SEC teams are doing what. They will not, budge or they will not push an unbeaten TCU out of the playoff.
If you are one of the 5 conferences and you are undefeated, you want to talk about a riot no matter how powerful one conference might be or thinks they are or what we think of them. That's why the conference or the college football expansion is such a very integral part. By the way, they met today. Nothing happened today. I'm not sure if you saw that. Ross Dellinger and a couple of others were mentioning, Ross, no news from the college football playoff commissioners. They exited the latest expansion meeting. Why are they meeting?
So like every meeting they have, basically?
They made progress. They're not finished. Bill Hancock says another meeting will be scheduled this year as commissioners will continue to die. Hancock on early expansion, especially 2024, quote, time's not on our side. How many damn times do we have to hear that?
Yeah, I this whole dog and pony show with the whole college football playoff and their meetings and the time frames and all of that, like, if they want to get it done, they'll get it done. I think this is being overly dramatic when it comes to the college football playoff. And
all expense trips to really nice cities.
Exactly. And, Heather Dinich is good at, being like the on the beat reporter, but I feel like almost they have to create news because they have somebody there monitoring them or something. I don't know, because I don't know how many other meetings that end in no change whatsoever in any other industry get covered like this.
Just put up the white smoke when you do it. And we'll know. It's just, I cannot wait for Bill Hancock to retire. I cannot. I can't do it. Like, I can't deal with lobbyists for almost any industry, even stuff that I like. Like if there was a marshmallow lobbyist, I'd be like, dude, cut it out with the marshmallows, man.
No, I'm with you.
I can't do it. I cannot do it.
Listening to him 3 feet away at Big 12 Media Days talk about the playoff was frustrating. He was, he did not leave a good feel, for like the greater good of college football when we were done talking to him, but whatever.
The thing about lobbyists is that they're not genuine because they're only going to promote the good things about what they're lobbying for.
That's what they're paid to do.
Exactly. So it's not genuine.
No,
Yeah,
no, he's very boring, and we had him on, and what he said at the end when I said, "Would it not be good? Isn't it not good for college football?" If they went to 2, he goes, "No." He basically was like on everybody. All right, if you did not hear part of the Adam Rittenberg interview, you can go to ESPN.com. He gives coaches from A to D-. Give me 3 bangers. Name big names that were D- for the first
Jimbo Fisher.
No, this is first-year head coach.
First-year head coaches, sorry. First-year head coach, D-.
Gosh, I got to make a list of first-year head coaches. Yeah, Marcus Freeman.
Marcus Freeman is on the list. Brent Venables?
Yeah, I guess so.
And Mario Cristobal is a D+. Actually, Venables is a D+. Freeman's in that category as well.
So first-year head coach at their spot.
At the spot where they are, yes.
I mean, yeah, those make sense. I mean, there's not really an argument against those. I know Oklahoma's changed their tune quite a bit after getting that win last week, but let's see how the rest of the season plays out. But, yeah, so far it's not been good. And
Sonny Dykes an A?
Yeah, of course.
Lincoln Riley an A?
Yeah.
Kalen DeBoer an A-.
Yeah,
Troy's
John
lost some steam,
but
A. Clay Helton at Georgia Southern had to win at Nebraska, A-.
So now you don't need to go read Adam Rittenberg's piece. We're just going to reel them off
those
here.
Are some of them. And Dan Lanning's I got a nice grade as well after bouncing back from that smothering loss to Georgia. Hey, Saturday, 9 o'clock, we're on the air Saturday morning. Baylor and Kansas pregame. 9 o'clock until 10:30. The kickoff is just after 11 o'clock. We'll be here on 365 Sports. Back in a moment.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive, North 19th Street in Waco, a hidden gem. It is fantastic the amount of local craft whiskeys they have from Texas, whether it's Balcones, TX, Devil's River, Garrison Brothers. They have them all. If it's from Texas, it's pretty much at Riverbend Liquor and Wine. The craft beers, always fantastic. The best variety, the best selection of craft beers. They're always churning that out. And they've got great selections of everything. So if you're not a beer or a whiskey person, believe me, they've got different varieties of everything that you may like there at Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Great customer service, a speedy drive-through window. And look, if you can't get out to the store, they're available on DoorDash. So you can get them pretty much any which way you want to, whether you go into the store, go into the drive-through, or sit at home and wait for somebody to bring it to you on DoorDash. They do all that. All available there at Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Lakeshore Drive, North 19th Street behind the bank. Check out their great promotions on Instagram.
The wait is over. Richard Carr GMC has the trucks. 2022 GMC Sierras have hit the lot, and they're waiting for you. Sierra trucks offer best-in-class towing, strong steel beds, multi-pro tailgates, and advanced features that make driving a Sierra second to none. Trucks are waiting for you to test drive now. So call now, log in now, or get here now and drive your next truck today at Richard Carr.
Richard Carr, they have the truck for you.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? by not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference, and that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
I hate my job, but I don't mind getting up in the morning. I dread each day, but I can't wait to get out of bed. You ask me why, and what I'll say to you is true. Well, you can get breakfast tacos at Rudy's Barbecue. Scrambled eggs and brisket, they ain't fooling around. Salsa drap, son, they're the best in town. Barbecue for breakfast, yes, it's true. Put a smile on your morning at Rudy's Barbecue. Next in line.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Looking for a great job with great pay and awesome benefits? Genco FCU is hiring. As a longtime Waco employer, Genco focuses on what matters most in our employees' lives, like pay incentives, bonuses, benefits, 401k plans, paid time off, advancement opportunities, medical, prescription, dental, and vision insurance, as well as short and long-term disability. Come join our incredible team today and make Genco your career that will work for you. Apply at gencofcu.org or at any branch location.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Want more updates during the day? Follow 365 Sports YT on Twitter.
All right, Levi has given us some games to pick this week. I'm not doing it today. I'm not going to do it, Paul. It doesn't matter. We are not good at it. I think we're just above 500. And, Paul, you've got a little work to do.
No, I know. I'm not changing any mind. I'm pretty confident in the ones this week. I do have a rooting interest in only one of the games in that UCLA fans came at me so hard for a factual statement I made a couple weeks ago. I have never wanted Ducks to rain down terror on people more just for that reason. And I don't usually care about UCLA, but now, quack, 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 mofos, let's go.
What?
Yeah.
You're angry today.
Yeah, I'm angry all the time. I'm going to die angry.
No.
That's what's going to happen to me.
All right. Kirby Smart wants the Georgia-Florida game. Paul, you sent this. Seth Emerson had this story. Kirby Smart would like to see the future of Georgia-Florida moving the location. Not a priority for me, but it's always been the biggest cocktail party, or outdoor cocktail party. In Jacksonville?
Yep.
Why does he want to move it?
he wants to showcase because he's the recruiting monster. This is the guy who's recruiting better than anybody in the country right now, including Nick Saban. And I'm sure there could be arguments to be made, but I think it's Kirby Smart is dominating this. It's all he thinks about when he's not doing game plans. He's recruiting, and he thinks that having the game in Jacksonville does not give them the opportunity to showcase their campus. So he'd rather go back to home and home every year.
If it's in Gainesville, does it get to showcase their campus?
But it's every other year. So it gets. I mean, Florida gets that advantage as well. But he's willing to give that up. But he's bringing recruits into the cocktail party for the first time. He's breaking that truce they had forever, and he's willing to do it the next year when it's Florida's home game. So
Florida would get the recruits next year to get to go visit, right?
Yes.
Okay. The contract.
It's OU Texas. It's the same concept.
No, it is. It's one of these two teams lives in the state where the game is played, but it's still equidistance. It's through 2023 in Jacksonville. Extensions or options for 24 and 25. I don't care where the game is played. I kind of like that the tradition is another thing that's going out the window, and because of just things change.
Yeah, but you're not a Georgia or Florida fan, so I think that they'd be a better
fan of the
gauge.
Game. Yeah,
yeah, but you're not a Georgia or Florida fan, so it's like, okay, a Texas State fan might not care where OU Texas is played, but their opinion doesn't really matter. So I think, from his standpoint, it makes a ton of sense, and why he would want to go back home and home. I think, some of those matchups can lose their luster, like OU Texas never will. There's not a reason, really, to move it to Norman and Austin, other than it would be cool to just see UT have to play in Norman and OU have to play in Austin, but I think it's fine where it is. But there are others that get tried out, like Baylor, Texas Tech, where after you've seen it for a couple of times, who cares about going to AT&T Stadium to watch these two teams play anymore? Like, I know I lost – I felt like it lost its luster the last couple of years that we were there. It's like, why not just go home and home? And now they're home and home. And it makes more sense after having taken a break to now it's fresh to be home and home. So – maybe that's what they do here. I don't know what the alternative opinion, is as far as Billy Napier and what he would like that game to be or whatever. But, I mean, I definitely see it from Kirby Smart's standpoint. Of course, you'd rather have another home game if you could.
Also, you can make the argument that even though the Jacksonville Stadium is an NFL stadium, the two stadiums that they would go back to are a little bit better. Alltel Stadium, I don't know if it's Alltel anymore or whatever it is. I mean, they haven't really done anything to it in a while. So, okay, I know you went to a Super Bowl there, and it's fine. Jacksonville's fine. I mean, but it's not a place where people, I think, are staying for the weekend or anything like that. There's nothing really around it. So
is Alltel even a company anymore?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's TIAA Bank Stadium is what it is.
Was Alltel like the second name of
makes me think of
company?
1997 or something.
Yeah. TIAA Bank Stadium. It's whatever, But so I don't know. I just think it's weird that they would not have it there, and But Craig, it's exactly like not doing Texas OU at the Cotton Bowl. But if one of the head coaches doesn't see any benefit to it. I wonder if it can even have its,
he brought it up.
Power.
It will happen.
He's won a national championship.
Yeah. Here's the thing. It doesn't matter to me where they play the damn game. Like, I'm going to watch it if they play it on Pluto. I don't care that much. But, I also acknowledge that I don't know the intricate ins and outs of why that game matters and why it matters in Jacksonville for either side. Clearly for Kirby Smart, it doesn't matter that much anymore. He's willing to move it. Again, we need to hear Billy Napier's take on that, but he's also a guy pretty driven by recruiting, so I'll be curious to see his take. But, yeah, I mean, I can understand the positioning here.
The game has been in Jacksonville almost continuously since 1933.
That's awesome, man.
Kirby Smart said this. Has been the main voice arguing for moving the game, but as he pointed out, he's only said that or mentioned it when he's asked. It's really not a big debate for me. It's been made really big by the media because they've made it out to be a really big deal. I enjoy the pageantry of going down there and playing. I enjoyed playing there as a player. I enjoy tradition. I enjoy all those things. But I promise you, I have not thought about that 1 second since the start of the season. So there's that with Georgia and also Florida.
And look, I can totally understand people being upset to ruin a tradition like that. So if that's enough to keep it where it is, and I'm like I said, it doesn't matter to me where the games play, but I definitely see the recruiting part of it if you're Kirby Smart.
Yeah, Sir blah 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 Paul needs to take a shot or so of that Riverbend liquor and wine, calm down a little bit.
No.
The A&M Arkansas needs to be home and home, but Jerry has his fingerprints all over that.
Yeah, like that one seems like it's probably got to kind of lost its luster of being
Possibly, yeah.
I mean, like, I thought that was cool initially. Like, that was the thing, though, is like Jerry's World basically created all these neutral site games in so many ways, because they went out and started getting like, let's throw Alabama, Florida State out there. It's like, what do they have to do with Arlington, Texas? Absolutely nothing, other than they want to recruit in Texas and it's the new shiny stadium, and they kind of created that. And now, you know, Atlanta does it, New Orleans, and I know there's been that previously too, but at this point, yeah, A&M Arkansas, wouldn't you rather go to Fayetteville, go to College Station? And
I like that stuff once in a while.
Once in a while.
Yeah,
but
it was cool when it started. By the way, did we ever get the Hayden Maxwell Super Chat?
It's the Super Chat that we asked.
Craig, do you think?
Yes, we.
Okay, you've already discussed that.
Like 15 minutes ago.
Yeah, and I was saying, are we sure? It's a given that if they run the table, is that a given? It should
absolutely,
be.
it's a given.
But in this day and age, you never know.
I mean, what day and age does an undefeated team get left out of the playoff if they run through the Big 12? I don't care that it's not Texas or Oklahoma. If TCU has like 5 top 25 wins, then there's no chance they're not in the playoff. I don't care how good they think Alabama, who may not make the conference title game, might be, you know, but they probably will still be. But like whoever that third SEC team, this little thing that's been floated out there is about being a real possibility. Okay, then the fourth team's TCU if they're unbeaten. So we can have arguments about how that third SEC team gets in there, but it won't be over an undefeated TCU. I just refuse to believe that.
To me, if that was to happen to any conference, if it ever happened to any conference, I don't know what it would be. But, okay, thanks for that. Thank you for the Super Chat. The chat room's been going crazy today, and thank you very much. Roger Dodger asked about Chip Kelly and a grade. The Adam Rittenberg article was the 29 first-year head coaches being given a mid-season
But an
report.
A+ so far,
Yeah,
if you're going off
absolutely.
just coaching grades in general, he absolutely deserves that. And you win this weekend, and look out. I mean, that would really set them on the course to big-time discussion and a lot more than they've been getting already.
Hey, tomorrow, Ross Dellinger will join us. He wrote a column article earlier this week, behind the scenes and closed doors that led to the college football playoff expansion, plus his thoughts about much more. Also, Grayson Grundhafer.
Spoiler, he's going to write another article later and actually have information. It's college football playoff meetings.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So there's going to be an article saying, well, I'll have another article later on, and hopefully I'll have details then on the new college football playoff.
They had to just copy and paste what the answers are from Bill Hancock. All right, Paul's Top 5 is next.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
Hi, this is Paul Catalina. I recently got engaged to the love of my life, but the most important thing that I had to do before I popped the question was get that perfect ring. And I know nothing about rings. So I went to the wedding ring store, Boozer's Jewelers on Valley Mills Drive. I knew I needed a custom design, and that's exactly what they do. 9 out of 10 of their engagement rings are designed in-house. The entire process took less than a month, and they were great every step of the way. Great options on financing, excellent selection, and talented designers. My fiance and I get nonstop compliments on the ring. I only deserve credit for doing the smartest thing I could, walking into Boozer's and letting them work their magic. Your one-of-a-kind fiance deserves a one-of-a-kind ring, and that's what you get at Boozer's. Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store on Valley Mills Drive.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like our free First mobile app, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Hi, I'm Mark Stewart with Bird Collision Ford. It's that time of year. It's football season, and BK Ford is a proud supporter of the best high school football teams in Texas, right here in Central Texas. BK Ford is proud to sell the #1 truck in Texas, the F-Series truck. Led by our leading rusher, the F-150, 45 years in a row. Lock in your best price and rate today by custom ordering your new F-150 at BK Ford. Simple, easy, trusted. Experience better at Bird Colgan Ford.
It's football and tailgate season. If you want product for the grill or smoker, charcoal, seasonings, marinades, sauces, Waco Custom Marketplace is your home to help prep, cook, and enjoy your food. Tailgate must like brisket, tri-tip, fresh-made burgers, sausage, chicken wings, and if you want steaks, call in your order and pick them up. Bacon wrap fillets or any kind of ribeyes. USDA Select, Choice, and Prime that melt in your mouth. House-made sausage and jerky. Also, Waco Custom Marketplace, a one-stop shop for tailgating, barbecue cook-offs, and family get-togethers, fundraisers with fair prices to you, the customer. A bakery with fresh baked bread and kolaches. There's cold beer, wine, and soft drinks. Serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. A cut above the rest. Waco Custom Marketplace, open Monday through Saturday at 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
This is Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 5:55.
Top 5 questions for the Big 12 this weekend. This is the conference that is going to have the most games that could move the needle, I think, every week when it comes down to it, because there are just there's not so much division. Now, there are tiers right now, but especially the teams that are in that third tier that can just play season ruiner could move the needle for somebody else easily every week, because again, so not much separation. Number 5, who rights the ship first? Kansas or Baylor? Baylor will have their starting quarterback back. It does not look like Kansas will, but Jason Bean will be playing his second and a half game in a row. And look, he's not bad. The Baylor defense needs to get its teeth back. The Kansas defense needs to get teeth. We'll see. This is going to be an offensive back and forth, but this one is a kind of a season changer for each team. Where are you going to be, fighting for 6-6, or are you going to be maybe in there not contending for the title game just yet, that a lot of other things would have to happen, but are you going to be relevant towards the end of the year?
Somebody's getting their third Big 12 loss, and they'll be out, basically, for all intents and purposes. I mean, I don't think KU's going to regain their stride that they had earlier this year, and we don't know when Jalen Daniels is coming back. Jason Bean's good enough to win the game this weekend, but I have to believe Baylor wins this game. If they don't win this game, guys, I mean, seriously. Yeah. I have to believe that they're going to, because outside of that, it would just be a disappointment that no one could have seen forthcoming, no matter how optimistic or pessimistic you were this offseason about, what they were rolling into this season with. But, yeah, I mean, somebody's going to feel great about just getting a win coming out of this game on Saturday, and the other side's going to realize that, the writing's pretty much on the wall, and just making a bowl game is going to be a real struggle for whoever doesn't win this game.
Yeah. Number 4.
Well, for Baylor, if they don't, I should say, yeah.
Who will play defense in the West Virginia Tech game? Because these are two teams that struggle on that side of the ball. Look, it's in Lubbock, leaning more towards Tech in that one, in that regard, and Tech's defense might be a little bit better, but this should be, these two games here will be shootouts. I don't think any of the rest of them may be shootouts in the shootout sense, but I think this one will be probably a lot like the Baylor-West Virginia game last week if West Virginia is on their P's and Q's on offense.
Yeah, I need to clarify my stumble there. If Baylor doesn't win this game, they're in big trouble as far as making a bowl game. KU just needs one win. Yeah. So they're right there. Now, that still could be dicey if they lose this weekend.
Yeah.
But yeah, I want to clarify there. But, yeah, I think we're going to see some defense played this weekend, but I would definitely lean more towards a shootout. I mean, Tech's talking about playing all three quarterbacks if Tyler Shuck's actually available. At last word, I haven't seen whether he's been cleared or not, but we'll definitely see Donovan Smith back, and we'll definitely see Barron Morton, so they'll at least play two guys. West Virginia haven't probably doted on them as much as Mountaineers fans would like, but that was, as I tried to explain to some people, not so much anything against them. It was more or less against Baylor, the fact that we know them so well and saw what they let slip through their fingers last week. But I give the Mountaineers a lot of credit for, making some very timely plays and being able to, basically create some or I guess they were given a little bit of momentum, but able to take that momentum and run with it and finish Baylor off when they had the chance to. So, yeah, I think we'll see some defense, but I would definitely lean more towards shootout than the defensive struggle in this one.
Number 3, can Texas win a true road game? That's a test for them. Look, they've played on the road already. They played in Dallas. And I know that's it's a neutral site game, but this will be a little different. It's not going to be half the stadium cheering for you. It's going to be those paddles and all that. And Oklahoma State coming off a loss, a team that's probably not going to lose 2 games in a row too many times. So this is a huge test for Texas. Leaning that way in our picks right now, just because I don't know what the deal is with Spencer Sanders, and even if he plays, if he's still banged up, I saw what that was at the end of last week. But this is going to be a tough one for Texas and a tough place to play.
It was night and day what he was in the second half compared to what he was in the first quarter and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if he doesn't have a shot or something to get him going, I don't know. I'm not trying to suggest that, but he's obviously not – he's not full throttle.
I mean, are we even really hiding the cortisone, or not the cortisone, but the numb shot that the guy's getting? I think we're all pretty. I mean, Hollywood's kind of exposed that at this point. So yeah, I'm sure he'll get a little numbing shot, and they'll see what he can do. But yeah, I'm not real high on Oklahoma State at the moment, just because of that uncertainty. And yeah, can Texas win? I think absolutely they can, and I'm kind of leaning in their direction right now. I don't think they were all that impressive last week, but I think you give Iowa State a lot of credit for just being better than people realize they are, because their record stinks, but defensively they're still very good and hard to score against, and I think UT ran into a little bit of that. But yeah, I absolutely think they can go win this weekend, and I'm almost expecting them to at this point, but we'll see how I feel by tomorrow when we're making this pick.
The line went from 1 to 6 or 5 or 6
pretty quickly too.
Yeah, and probably
Sanders.
The Spencer Sanders
for sure.
type information.
If you told me that there was a tax on touchdowns in the state of Iowa, I would believe you. And that's the reason. Like, listen, guys, we can't afford touchdowns, so you can get 1, maybe 2.
I mean, I can respect old school football, but like they're taking it beyond. Like, that's not just old school football; that's just bad offense. But yeah, Iowa State that was another one that slipped away. But yeah, I think Texas has a bit sharper performance this week, knowing what's on the line.
Yeah. Number 2, can TCU force Adrian Martinez to pass more? And look, sub question to that: even if they do, what if it works? Like that's one thing that everybody said. Now, nobody's been able to really do that to Adrian Martinez throughout the year, but if they can, I'd be interested to see what happens. But that doesn't mean it wouldn't work. It just means that, when you don't have to pass the ball like Kansas State hasn't had to do, then you don't.
He threw 31 passes against Tulane, 21 of 31, 150 yards, not much per pass. Per attempt, threw a touchdown. No, not a very good quarterback rating, but he did throw the ball 31 times. He ran the ball just 42, which is normally a pretty good number.
What was the end result there?
They lost the game.
Yeah, they lost a low-scoring game to Tulane. I mean, I don't think by any means this can get misconstrued that he's a bad passer or whatever. No. It's just that the more he puts the air, the more of a chance that this little perfect turnover streak that he has with no interceptions goes out the window, and especially against a feisty TCU secondary who's got our guy, Trevius Hodges-Tomlinson, among others back there. They can make him pay. So I'm just very curious because I don't know a ton about the TCU defense in terms of what to believe as far as how good they are, because the offense is getting so much of the credit so far, but they're good. It's just that, yeah, if they can stifle in the Martinez-Vaughn duo, then can Malik Knowles make enough plays for K-State to score points while the defense keeps Max Duggan and company in check? Like, that's where – if this gets into a shootout, I don't love K-State's chances is where I'm coming from. But Martinez could win a shootout. It's just that you'd prefer they just could have effectiveness running the football because that's what they do best.
Yeah. And number 1, what QBs will play? We already know that Blake's shaping well. We know that Daniels probably won't. Spencer Sanders kind of up in the air. Craig just mentioned they could play all 3 quarterbacks at Texas Tech.
That all depends on Tyler Shought's health. If he gets cleared, then he's going to play according to Joey McGuire. And we know Baron Morton's playing. We know Donovan Smith's playing. So, yeah, it's just a matter of what they find out from the doctors.
Yeah, so which QBs are going to play this week? It could certainly affect a lot of these games. Of course, Shapen is going to play, and Jalen Daniels is not. Well, I don't think he is, but he's been seen at practice, according to reports. I think that's more subterfuge.
Yeah, I don't think he's been like practicing, but I guess he's been spotted. But yeah, like we said earlier, Jason Bean's capable of beating this Baylor team. But I would hope that Baylor's going to have a little bit of a gut check here, because if not, there's no more remaining really the rest of the way. That would just be some nice potential wins, but nothing big in the grand scheme of things. So this is important.
Baylor does not have an identity.
No, they really don't. And KU's was Jalen Daniels for the most part, but I think that they've reacted pretty well, even though they've lost a couple in a row now. This league really has turned into a who can have the healthy quarterback or who has the best backup quarterback. And you saw Texas be able to handle not having Ewers there for a little while. Even though they didn't stay perfect, Tech jumped up and bit them, obviously, and Alabama bit them. But outside of that, Hudson Card played really well, and he's played well enough that they're in a position right now where they're still very much in this race. You look at Tech, and they've been able to they didn't just fall off a cliff because Tyler Shuck got hurt or because Donovan Smith got hurt. Baron Morton could create an argument to like being the guy now. So, having a quality backup quarterback, that matters in this league and has mattered a lot already.
All right, thank you, Paul, for the top 5. This is a stat from Clint Sterner, former Cowboys quarterback.
Oklahoma. Davis Bevel. A little bit of a difference from Dylan Gabriel.
No, you're right. Ohio State, as of today, is 6-0. They've been AP top 3 all year, from getting 2 first-place votes to 17. They have not played yet a current top 25 team. They have not yet played a team currently above 500. 2 wins against Arkansas State and Toledo, 4 wins against teams at the bottom of the Big Ten, and Notre Dame, which, of course, has been slightly down, or a lot down compared to last year. I don't know. I think Ohio State is still so powerful as far as so dynamic on offense, but it will be fun once somebody maybe punches them back. But not a bad idea. Why are they ranked number 2, 3, or 1 in the country? Because they started out there, because they're Ohio State, and I'm not trying to downgrade how good they are, but this is part of what the preseason poll can do.
So I have anti-preseason poll the way that it's currently kind of set up is because it locks you into a place, and then no matter what, if you have an easier schedule. But no, they're still obviously plenty good. The problem is that they haven't played anybody. We're already halfway through the year, and they've really only got a couple games that you're looking at where they are going to play somebody when it's all said and done, period. And one of those is the very last game against Michigan. And prior to that, you're looking at Penn State next week. But outside of that, you'd expect them to be pretty heavy favorites.
One of the things, it's not their fault. They scheduled Notre Dame, and so it's not like they just didn't have a great non-conference schedule. It's not their fault.
And
the conference.
That was the closest they came to losing all year.
Yeah. All right. Thanks to Paul Catalina and Craig Smoak, to Jacob Wilson, Levi Caraway, Emery Winter, Jack McKenzie, the tool man, and Garrett Ross. Great stuff, Garrett. Thank you very much for what you do behind the scenes.
And they teased it earlier, but Baylor is going Sailor Bear helmet, all green, for homecoming weekend for those that get into that thing.
Sports Tonight at 10:30 on the CW channel. Thanks to Emery Winter with what he does with that. And I'm David Smoak. Good night, 365 Sports.